Right now, we go to Neil.
How can you go on Friday morning when the first game is Thursday night?
Well, we won't be covering that one.
Well, why not? That's the only important one.
I don't think it is.
Yeah, it is.
There's some pretty good games this weekend, actually.
That's my opinion. The important one is Thursday night. I could be wrong about that.
Oakland and New England?
Anybody want to talk about the Patriots?
How'd your horse do on Saturday? Didn't get a chance to watch
Not well.
Really?
Well, actually, she didn't break. She didn't get out of the gate. She rushed up and took the lead.
Yeah.
She was ahead by a couple of lengths, but she ran that first quarter in 21 and change.
Because 20. How long a race was it?
6 furlongs.
Oh, too fast.
And what happened was she rushed up because she was left at the gate, but she showed speed, so she's going to run.
The Dutchman used to go 21 and 4 at Calder.
She'll run again in 2 weeks.
Low the Dutchman.
Yeah.
And Cherry Pop. Or as Bob Savage used to say, Cherry Cat. He's a good guy, Bob Savage. He's still dead, by the way. And speaking of dead, brain-dead people...
Jason, you're on QAM.
We don't have any National Guardsmen because they're all fighting a war in Iraq right now.
Not the National Guard.
Pardon?
Not the National Guard.
No National Guard in Iraq?
There's no National Guard. No.
Actually, there were 5,000 members of the Louisiana National Guard alone in Iraq.
30%
About 30, man.
of the entire National Guard is in Iraq. And this man, this moron, goes on the air. And then he proceeded on Thursday. I was just sitting here doing, my stories for the website, and I kept the audio on, and I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it. Then he went into a rant about the rest of the world doesn't want to help us, and we're always helping out everybody else. Castro has 1,600 doctors and 24 tons of food that he wanted to send. Iran offered to send. I mean, even the unlikeliest places in the world, 60 countries in all, have offered to send. And, of course, the government was assessing. Condoleezza Thursday, who came back from her vacation. Tuesday night she was busy yucking it up in New York at the Monty Python play, seen laughing and yucking it up. And then Thursday she finally makes a grand appearance and says, well, we haven't decided yet. We're still evaluating these offers. In the meantime, while people are dying and drowning. Condoleezza, you sellout, you bitch. But nevertheless.
The New Orleans Times-Picayune, which is publishing.
I have their editorial, by the way, right here.
Yeah, get rid of everybody at FEMA immediately.
Yeah. Well, there is no more FEMA. And, of course, the bottom line, I don't care what anybody says, the bottom line is...
George Bush doesn't care about black people.
Yeah, that's not his base. That's not his constituency. He doesn't give a crap. These people in the media, I'm going to tell you, Lou Dobbs needs to be tarred and feathered. He needs to be run out of Atlanta on a rail. He's a Nazi. He's Pat Buchanan in drag is what he is. Did you ever watch Lou Dobbs?
No.
Don't.
I don't like him.
And, of course, this business about, the idea of people politicizing this. I got an article here, White House enacts a plan to ease the political damage. You know what really frosted me more than anything else?
Yeah, they're more concerned about their own damage control.
That's right. That's exactly right. What pissed me off so bad is he finally shows his ass up on there Wednesday or Thursday. He goes to Mississippi and he's got his fat-faced buddy Haley Barbour there, good old boy. And then, he does his flyover. He did the flyover over Louisiana. Didn't, dare touch down anywhere except some small corner of the airport where they'd be safe. And then he finally goes into Mississippi to talk in Biloxi. I guess that was the second trip. And now it's a photo op.
Exactly. He's Alex Pinellas.
He is mic'd. This is the thing. It would be one thing if we just saw the visuals of him there comforting the people and putting on this phony act. But he is mic'd for the event. Why didn't they just hold up a big sign that says, hey, if you had any doubts, it's just a photo op. Don't worry, he doesn't really mean it, And he's hugging these young black kids and these other people, and, oh, he's so sorry. And with a microphone, like we have to hear it. Like, gee, we want to make sure everybody understands how compassionate this Nazi is. Man, did that piss me off. But nevertheless, I'll tell you who was really good. Jack Cafferty was great on CNN. He was going apeshit, man. He went nuts. And even Anderson Cooper, who ordinarily sends me straight to the pooper, Anderson Cooper butched up. It was pretty good. It's screaming and yelling. They were great.
How about Pat Robertson?
Yeah.
With his whole deal about...
With Chavez?
No. He wants to have his Christian network or whatever it is now.
Drown? I think it's a good idea if they all drown. That's an excellent idea.
He's got some fundraiser thing where... after all the things he said earlier, now they want to make a big contribution.
Well, the diamond mines in Liberia didn't work out too well, and all the other deals he had there in Africa didn't work out too well financially for him, so maybe he's a little bit strapped right now. So let's send him some money. Not.
I thought...
It's just amazing. There was another... a few months ago, we put it on our website, The Power of Nightmares, the documentary, a BBC documentary that aired here on the CBC. So last night I'm channel surfing, and I was lucky enough to discover at 10 o'clock there was a first part to that Power of Nightmares that goes back to the whole history of Irving Kristol and Wolfowitz and Richard Pearl and Reagan and crazy Bill Casey, who was the director of the CIA, who was crazier than a bedbug, and how they made up all of this crap about the Soviet Union and about all these weapons that they were supposedly devising, which didn't exist at all, and about how the whole neocon movement took as foot soldiers all these religious nuts and how they joined forces together. Now, of course, they're running the country. We're talking about Islamic extremist religious fanatics. In the meantime, what's wrong with America is other religious fanatics, crazy people. People that used to be considered on the fringes of sane society and on the outer fringes, now they're running the country.
This is disgraceful.
And how do you like Barbara Bush? How do you like Barbara Bush, that moron, opening up her mouth this morning saying, "Oh, well, these people in Houston at the Astrodome, this is going to be a step up for many of these poor people. This is going to be a step up." Like, boy, aren't they lucky? Didn't they hit the jackpot and win the lotto this week?
Step up, living on the floor of the Astrodome?
Right, exactly. This is a step up. What a shot that is, that miserable white-haired bitch, Martha Washington in drag. You nasty bitch. You slut. But nevertheless. You were saying?
I wasn't.
Well, it doesn't take much to get me worked up these days. I'll tell you, I'm so pissed off about this crap.
It's so disgraceful. It's just...
And there still is that 43 to 46% of the country, no matter... Bush could come to their house and take a dump right on their dining room table in the middle of dinner, and they'd say, "Man, that's the best smelling crap I ever smelt in my life." There's just no way to get through to these people. He's the dumb president for the dumb half of America. And boy, has he got them hornswaggled.
No passion in the man whatsoever.
None.
Or
Zero.
compassion.
That's why that whole phony, this compassionate conservative my ass, Hitler would be proud. Just unbelievable.
Meanwhile, that city, I mean, you read the things that, the deputy police chief said, we have no city, we have no jobs.
Right.
I mean, you talk about hopelessness.
Right.
It's just the worst. I mean,
and then Michael Chertoff, who, as far as I'm concerned, he ought to be hung from the highest tree they can find. He comes on the air on Thursday afternoon, and he's amazed that there are all these people at the convention center. This is the first he heard about it, and I'm thinking to myself, anybody over there at Homeland Security got a TV set? You jackass, you imbecile, you lunatic. First they knew about all those starving people at the convention center who had no food and water for 4 days.
The vice president has also been on vacation.
Oh, yeah, he's on permanent vacation.
It took George Bush 2 days before he left his vacation home
to do anything. I want you to think about this. I was just saying to George, think about this carefully. Do you remember back when our fat-ass governor was stirring up all the crap with Terry Schiavo and her... remember all of that?
Yes, of course.
Almost instantly... Congress came rushing back from recess. They all convened to pass that what turned out to be illegal Terry bill, whatever the hell that was. And then Bush came rushing back from Crawford, Texas to Washington to sign it the very next day. Remember that?
Yep.
Now Congress says, earlier in the week last week, they're saying, maybe we can get back into town by Friday, which at that time was 4 days later. Maybe we can get back by Friday. And, of course, like you said, Bush, in fact, on Tuesday, he wasn't back yet. He was busy doing a political speech in San Diego on Tuesday.
Yeah, I mean, if ever there was a crisis.
Right.
Where is everybody?
Yeah. And she's at Monty Python on Broadway laughing her ass off Condoleezza Tuesday night while her people in New Orleans are drowning.
10,000 dead.
Well, that's what they haven't got a clue. It could
that's
be 20,000,
that's what they're estimating.
10,000. That's what they're estimating now.
Could be more.
They don't have any idea. Could be more. It's gonna make the number of dead from 9/11 pale into insignificance. They're saying there's over 1,000 dead in Biloxi alone. They got about 200 official count, but they said based on the people along the coast. And since you and I discussed this last week, the thing about those floating casinos, wasn't that brilliant that Haley Barbour now, that fat-faced idiot, says, I guess I'll be sure to sign it now. We're going to pass the law so that they don't have to put the casinos out there floating on in the water, that they can have them on land adjacent to the hotels. And all those casinos that picked up by the wind and just wreak all kinds of damage there in Biloxi that don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No jobs, no food, no water.
As if it made any sense to have those on the water in the first place. You know, see, everything in America now, including in Florida, has to be geared to the right-wing religious crazy people, you know. Let them take South Carolina, and they can take North and South Dakota and Wyoming, for my part, and they can form their own stinking country, all these Jesus Christers, man, all these crazy people.
You know, a lot of people, and you know, you wonder how...
And don't forget...
George Bush doesn't care about black people.
Right.
And you wonder how our cities are going to absorb, you know, the people who are basically, you know, refugees right now.
No, don't say that.
I can't say that, huh?
Evacuees.
I know. Evacuees is the politically correct word.
Well, no, the media's been calling them refugees. Refugee is somebody from another country that we take
That's
in.
not
Refugee
so,
is a real
Neil.
shot.
Refugee is, if they're seeking refuge, what are they?
Evacuees.
Oh.
you better get with it, mister.
I know. I got a call from a friend of mine who's
or you're going to have some more time off pretty soon.
Who's a big time Democrat who says, "Oh, you can't call them refugees. It's and what are they? They're evacuees. They are refugees.
They're evacuating." And believe me, there was a lot of... Oh, and then that's another thing. Would the networks please, I know that we have a CNN bureau in Miami, would you please take some more distant shots? If you have to show the water being funneled out of the city, you know, they're draining the water, that's fine. It's nice to see that big pipe there and the water's going into Lake Pontchartrain. That's great. But we don't need to see it real close up and personal. You know what I'm saying? It's getting a little browner and browner by the minute. I don't think we really need to see that. God, are they sick. The people in the media, man, they're grave robbers. They're lunatics. Exploiters of the worst kind.
On the other hand...
Thank God we're not a part of it.
That's for sure.
We work at QAM.
I'm just trying to figure out how they're going to fix the microphone in here, which has been broken now for a year.
Well, George was telling me about his excitement yesterday working on Labor Day, that the audio vault crapped out.
Yeah.
Couldn't play any spots. Then they went in the control room when that one crapped out. They just got a few minor technical problems.
All we're missing today is a cough button that works and a microphone that keeps falling down.
And by the way, who is the guy that does the color on the ESPN with Boog yesterday? Did you see in the Marlins game? Is that Buck Martinez? Is that the guy?
I didn't watch the Marlins game on ESPN.
This man, he never took a breath. He never took a breath. I sure hope Boog isn't getting paid by the word, because he couldn't have said 100 words. I only watched an inning or two. But this guy, he never took a breath. This is part of the stupefying of America, man. What's happened to sportscasting is it used to be the color guy would interject a few words when there was a pause in the action. You know, now the color guy, in too many cases, he just never shuts up. You know, like Denise Potvin on the Panther games. It's just pathetic. I think it's Buck Martinez. I know his name is Buck. It wasn't Buck Showalter, was it?
No, Buck Showalter is managing.
Okay, so it's Buck Martinez, man. I'm going to tell you something. If I had a couple of bucks, I'd like to break his neck. In fact, Boog ought to be. I mean, he just ought to be. Yeah, what's he going to say? He's just a kid. You know, he's just getting his feet wet there on ESPN. But I mean, he didn't have a chance to say anything. I'm glad you both didn't see it. George, I bet, didn't see it either.
George was watching the game yesterday. I had a spy report.
What's that game?
Oh, and I got a great article here. It's going to really piss a lot of these stupid football fans off about the fact that the game on last night's game, which from what I see, it might as well have been called off, about the people, about how they had to evacuate the hotels from Tallahassee, kick out the storm evacuees from the hotel so they could make way for the football fans. That's really good.
I thought they said they weren't going to do that.
Well, guess what? They did.
Wow.
And when you went online, because it was actually in your favorite newspaper, The Herald, because they went online and it said that there were rooms available, and then when they were calling, guess what? No such rooms. No room at the inn. Because let's face it, what's more important, saving people who are desperate and homeless and that just came from almost drowning, or some stupid-ass college football game?
Yeah, well, you got to make money when you can, of course.
Yeah, that's right. There you go.
Yeah.
It's the American effing way, man.
I had seen a story last week that said that they were going to instruct the hotels not to do that.
Yeah.
Apparently
they'll do whatever they can to get a buck, you know.
Yeah. All right.
Because
Neil.
let's face it, when you're an evacuee, you probably don't have an awful lot of cash. See, people don't realize. I mean, you know, it's not like these people can go to an ATM and get money.
They can't do anything.
Even if they had a credit card, there's no ATMs working. There's no electricity. There's no nothing.
How long do you think it's going to take before that city functions again at all?
How many years?
Yeah.
About 30, man.
Long time.
Yeah.
Long time. Because I would say about half of those people probably won't go back. You remember after Andrew, South Dade, how many people just fled? They
right.
moved up to Broward or Palm Beach or just left the state. They never came back.
That's for sure. That's
and
true.
why couldn't they got 364 city buses in New Orleans, okay? Friday, when they saw Category 5 coming, which at that time they thought was going to go right toward downtown New Orleans. It finally went off to the east a little bit. But the initial tracking looked like it was going to take a direct hit. The last place you'd put people would be in the Superdome, because that would be in the direct path of the eye of the storm, number one. And number two, 364 city buses, and they had a mandatory evacuation order, okay? Why not take those buses into every part of the city and take those people out? And they didn't have to take them to Houston, because all they had to do was take them to where it was going to be dry land, because the storm surge didn't go, the flooding didn't go even on the other side of the downtown, on the other side of the lake. It's dry as a bone.
Even the French
They could have
Quarter,
taken them anywhere where they could have been safe.
Apparently, the flooding in the French Quarter wasn't as bad as it was in the rest of the city.
Correct. But, I mean, what kind of evacuation planning was there, huh?
Well, that's our government at work.
Yeah, that's your government in action, man. The Congress, the President, FEMA, which basically doesn't exist. Michael Chertoff, he ought to be on death row right now, man, and boy, would I be glad to pull the switch. Well, your horse will be okay next time.
Have a good day, Neil.
And maybe at a price.
Don't calm down. You're at your best.
See you on Thursday. And then next week it's back to 5 days for me. Oh, no. Oh, no. I better go into training. See you Thursday.
Enjoy.
Bye.
George Bush doesn't care about black people.
No. New Orleans thought it had been spared the worst. And then 2 major levees broke, and slowly the city filled with water.
The city that sits below sea level is now under sea. Officials estimate that 80% of New Orleans is now underwater.
The governor has been asking for everybody to say a prayer. I think we could probably do that for our friends and loved ones out there.
Good morning, America. Yes.
I'm dying over here.
If don't you know me, I'm your native son. I'm the train that calls the city of New Orleans. I'll be gone 500 miles when the day is done.
Last night we began this broadcast saying Katrina was bad, very bad. Last night we didn't know the half of it. We are still learning just how bad.
What I saw today is equivalent to what I saw flying over the tsunami in Indonesia. There are places that are no longer there.
Nighttime on the city of New Orleans.
I mean, everything's just flooded. Everything, the whole city.
There, right there, are some people being evacuated.
We're hearing lots of stories of folks lending aid to one another.
Helicopters and rescue teams lifting people one by one, hundreds and hundreds in all, from rooftops.
And we're hearing lots of stories like that of people assisting one another.
Just pray for them and for not just them, all the people down there.
You know, they're picking up the pieces.
Through the Mississippi darkness, rolling down to the sea. Good morning, America. Yes. Say, don't you know me? I'm your native son. I'm the train that calls the city of New Orleans. I'll be gone 500 miles when the day is done.
Tonight I ask for your prayers for all those who grieve.
Hurricane Katrina has brought out some of mankind's very best.
I ask the American people to join me in saying a prayer for the victims and their families. God bless.
I'm dying over here.
This is Neil Rogers. This is 560 QAM.
Bush doesn't care about black people.
Good morning, Americans. It's Paul Harvey. Stand by for news. Andy Johnson from Chicago, Illinois, went to Spain to attend a bullfight. Afterwards, he went to a nearby restaurant and ordered the specialty of the day. The waiter brought him 2 balls on a huge plate, which the tourist ate with relish. The next day, Andy goes to the same restaurant, once again orders the specialty of the day, and is brought 2 large balls on a huge plate, and it tastes scrumptious. The 3rd day, Andy goes to the same restaurant, and the 4th the same. But on the 5th day, Andy goes to the restaurant and orders the specialty of the day, and they bring him 2 very small balls on a giant plate. Andy says, well, what gives? And the waiter says, Senor, the bullfighter doesn't always win. Paul Harvey.
Good day.
Good day.
20 after 10 at 560 WQAM. Happy Tuesday to you, September 6th. Are we happy or what?
Oh, spectacular.
Raining again in South Florida. They got that big disturbance there off the coast. Just mentioned that in passing. Sunny here, man. It is beautiful. There's not a cloud in the sky, like about 73 or 4 today. I don't want you to feel bad.
No.
Georgia's poll yesterday. How would you rate the federal reaction to Hurricane Katrina? I would have my own choice I'd put on here, and I certainly couldn't use any of the words on the air.
No.
Criminally negligent. That's how I voted.
Yeah,
205. That's the understatement of the century. Absolutely, totally unacceptable. And unbelievable. Embarrassingly slow, 125. Pitiful, 93. Racially complacent, 41. Excellent, 14. Now, excellent, 14. Appropriate, 14. Who cares, 12. As good as any nation, 8. So there's like, let's see, 5.4, 7 point. About 9% right there. People need to be rounded up and put in camp, okay? We'll send you to camp. We'll let you have a nice shower.
We
and
can put
we'll
them in
slit
the
your throat.
Superdome.
Yeah, well, no, that's too good. Plus, we don't want to. Those people have already had enough grief. The ones that are there, we don't want to put these people there with them.
What? Grief? It's a step up. Come on, you forget.
Well, that's right. I forgot what Babs Bush said. It's a step up for a lot of these people. They ought to be pleased as punch.
They get punched?
You know something? I'd like to see her ass drowning there in New Orleans with just that white hair floating above the top of the water, you know? That fright wig of hers. Nasty, hateful, elitist man. The whole Bush family, a bunch of snobs. Should only, I can't go through it. I can't say it.
Right.
I wish I could say it.
No.
Here's our poll today. Because of the pathetic hurricane, I had to fax this to Eric more than once. I wonder why I wrote that at the top of there. I wrote one more time.
Encore.
One more time. You know, that's Mo as in moron. I just got to play that one more time.
Jason, you're on QAM.
We don't have any National Guardsmen because they're all fighting a war in Iraq right now.
Not the National Guard.
Pardon?
Not the National Guard.
No National Guard in Iraq?
There's no National Guard.
No, of course not. You know, stick to your ball games, okay, Mo man? Stick to something you might know something about. Again, I underline might, moron. Because of the pathetic hurricane response, who needs most urgently to resign or be fired is our poll question today. To me, it's a miracle nobody's gotten fired yet. And all this business about, there'll be plenty of time for finger pointing. Why? How? What is the appropriate time, you know?
They're going to get medals.
What is the appropriate... Yeah, just like, what's his name? Paul Bremer did for that great job he did in Iraq. Head of FEMA, Michael Brown. I'm sorry, as Bush said when he was there in the hangar, you know, and they were all like sucking up, you know, with Haley Barber. Mickey Brown doing a fine job. Mickey Brown. Seriously, when I see Bush, I just want to vomit. My blood starts curdling. Yeah. The head of FEMA, Michael Brown. There's no question he ought to be fired. But here, head of Homeland Security, Michael Chertoff, who only discovered Thursday that all those thousands of desperate, unfed, starving, and parched people at the convention center were there. Oh, he didn't know nothing about it. He didn't know nothing. Michael Chertoff, he ought to be executed on national television, okay, just to make sure it doesn't happen again. Homeland Security, my ass. Almost makes you wish for old Tom Rigid, you know it?
Almost.
George W. Bush. Well, he's leading, of course. Should have been impeached long ago, long before this disaster. In fact, if it weren't for that other disaster, that Iraq attack, we probably would have had enough guardsmen and enough troops to be able to handle this thing pronto if they cared.
What are you talking about? There are no national
Mayor
guards.
of New Orleans, Ray Nagin. Well, you know, he's got his own issues, like I said, about the buses and many other things. Boats.
Right.
You know, when a city is flooded like that, now, how many boats? How many thousand boats?
About 30,
Probably
man.
30,000 boats there in New Orleans. It's a coastal town. Everybody and their brother that's got more than 50 cents got a boat. Plus, they have Coast Guard. Everybody's got rescue boats, you would think, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
They have those amphibious vehicles.
They got shrimp boats.
Shrimp boats, is it coming? Thank God they found Fats Domino, by the way. Nice going, Fats.
Right.
He's staying with the family of the LSU quarterback. Ray Nagin, governor of Louisiana, Kathleen Blanco, who was doing her best. She was biting her tongue so hard yesterday, I thought the blood was going to come spurting out. Then she finally lost it this morning. Not totally, but a little bit, when Soledad, with that bun she's got now, with that silly military cap. Although Soledad, I got to hand it to her. I'll be fair. She's done pretty good the last few days. She started to butch up again like a real reporter, like a real journalist.
I didn't notice.
Wolf Blitzer, and Lou Dobbs, I'm going to tell you right now, if Lou Dobbs would die right now, it would be the happiest moment of my life. If somebody would come with a gigantic spear and just spear him to where his heart is supposed to be. He is Pat Buchanan without a heart. He's a Nazi, man, Lou Dobbs. You people at CNN will hang your heads in shame. Nobody. They all did fine, or all of the above. Now, pronto subito. How do you say that in Espanol? I guess pronto.
Right.
Subito, Italiano. So we got something there for everybody. 284 votes already. That's pretty dang good, you know what? We got a shot at 300. Because of the pathetic hurricane response, who needs to be most urgently resign or be fired? George W. Bush, 86. All of the above. Now, pronto, subito, 78. Head of FEMA, Mickey Brown, 65. Mickey Brown. When he said that, I can't describe my feelings. This feeling of revulsion and disgust.
Now, is that downtown Mickey Brown?
Downtown Mickey Brown. Head of Homeland Security, Michael Chertoff, who had to have his head shirted off, 21, or just chopped off. Mayor of New Orleans, 15. Governor of Louisiana, 12. Poor Kathleen. Nobody. They all did fine, 7. That's got to be a joke, isn't it? Huh? Do we have to pray that that's just a joke, don't we? Nobody. They all did just fine. Yeah. It was a great job. Lou Dobbs and Wolf Blitzkrieg don't have any yet, but they should. They should. Just an absolute American disgrace. I got about 7,000 articles. I'm sure we'll get a call or two here today, but we'll get to them, or not. I got my own agenda, you know what I'm saying?
Good.
My homosexual agenda.
Yes.
26 after 10. Don't forget, you can either send some money to the American Red Cross or Pat Robertson. Maybe he'll use the money for an assassination squad on Hugo Chavez. When you're shopping for shoes, comfort and fit is what it's all about. And do what I always do. Get over to Brandy Shoes for the most comfortable fit in your favorite style of shoes. Brandy's carries a humongous selection of just about every major brand. Rockports, Florsheim, Echo, Mephisto, SAS, New Balance, all the other top names in the shoe business. And Brandy's professional shoe fitters will make sure you've got a customized fit of your favorite comfort shoe. Just ask for Arnie. He'll make sure you get the perfect fit every time at the right price. And at Brandy's, chances are you're never going to hear, no, sorry, we don't have that style in your size, because whatever style you like, right on a shelf, they got it ready for you to slap on your feet. The pros at Brandy's understand fit and comfort, and Brandy specializes in wide widths, too. Brandy's worth a trip from just about anywhere, so take care of those tootsies. For comfort, style, fit, value, and selection, it's Brandy Shoes, 1290 North Federal Highway, Pompano Beach, open daily till 9, Sundays till 5, and this week it's Brandy's Red Tag Sale. Buy one red tag item, get a second red tag item of equal or lesser value at half price. That's Red Tag. Say it again. Come into the store this week for sure for the Red Tag sale, or do your shoe shopping on their website at brandyshoes.com.
This is Neil Rogers. This is 560 QAM.
Front QM.
We don't have any National Guardsmen because they're all fighting a war in Iraq right now.
Not the National Guard.
Pardon?
Not the National Guard.
No National Guard in Iraq?
There's no National Guard. No.
Slow down, you drive too fast. 'Cause there's a cop car on my ass. Just hold me over on the road. Looking for fun and smoking doobies. Hello, trooper, how's it going? You wrote this ticket that I'm holding. I'm glad you noticed my eyes were glassy. Thanks to driving while smoking doobies. I need a big glass of milk and chocolate chip cookies. Toked out and drowsy and ready to sleep. Let my lawyer guys make up a defense for me. Pot, I love you, smoking doobies. Marijuana, na, 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 smoking doobies.
Maybe that's why we saw Paul Simon this morning on the CNN. We didn't see no Art Garfunkel, probably because he's one of those hardened criminals, wouldn't you think?
That's right. Shoot him.
Plus, he might be incoherent, you know, smoking all those big fat ones. 10:32 at 560 WQM. What's that schedule look like today, Neil? Well, we got the Mole Man at 2. The Moron at 2 is so out of touch with what's happening in the world. Well, I guess when you live in Boca, it's easy. Mad Dog at 4. 6:30, you got your Marlins on deck. Marlins at Washington to play the Nats after a bad start to that series yesterday. 7:05. Eddie K at 10. Luke Schaub should do the same thing to Buck Martinez that most people like to do to Michael Chertoff. You know what I'm saying? Tar and feather is a good start. Transport and other logistics problems are holding up some of the massive humanitarian aid that European countries have offered to the victims. But that was another thing Mo was railing about, is that the rest of the world doesn't want to help us. Nobody's helping. Right, we've only had like 7,000 countries trying desperately to send help, although we got a lot of red tape and bureaucracy holding most of it up, including all those, let's see, well, we'll get to the Castro story. Just amazing. Those, by the way, are the same doctors that was okay to send them to Southeast Asia after the tsunami. Then it was fine. They did a tremendous job there. The same. First he started with 1,100 doctors. Then he upped it to 1,580 some odd. And we're still evaluating and contemplating while people are dying, of course. Condoleezza says, we're considering what's politically expedient. There appeared to be some transportation problems. Barbara Helferreich, a spokesman for the European Union's Executive Commission, told a news briefing. She said a Swedish plane laden with aid was waiting to take off, but hadn't gotten U.S. approval to enter the U.S., High-speed pumps offered by Germany had arrived, but Helferreich said unspecified coordination problems in the U.S. had prevented them from being deployed so far, She said EU authorities had suggested to the U.S. that aid could be flown in more easily via U.S. Army air bases in Europe, such as that in Ramstein, Germany. She didn't say if they'd received a reply. Ramstein, that's where they take all the soldiers who are dying and have no body parts that we never hear about. 23 European countries have offered to help the U.S., ranging from financial assistance. This is just in Europe. From financial assistance to ready-to-eat meals, blankets, tents, and disinfectant supplies. Helferreich said the U.S. had not agreed to take it all, and Britain, which currently holds the presidency of the EU, was negotiating with the U.S. authorities on what to deliver. Well, we're contemplating, we're thinking about it. The EU and NATO said on Sunday they'd received official requests from the U.S. to provide emergency assistance for victims of Katrina days after it ravaged U.S. cities. They only got the request on Sunday. Following that?
No.
Almost a week after. The Commission said at the time that the request to it came after several days of discussions and insisted that the EU, which calls itself the world's biggest aid donor, could have acted sooner if asked. Oh, emphasis mine, of course. Could have acted sooner if asked. Were they asked?
No.
Did they act sooner?
No.
It is so criminal, and of course we've got these, people in the media. Oh, let's not make this into a political thing. Let's not point fingers. And of course they got Bubba, who when he's alone, when he's out of the shadow of Papa Bush, he actually says, well, we let the people down. It was really. And then as soon as Papa Bush comes in here, he gives him that evil eye, and right away, well, now's not the time. Later, everybody, now's not the time. When will be the time, huh? How many thousand people, how many thousand bodies do we have to find before we find the time that something went wrong? 30,000? The Times-Picayune newspaper of New Orleans printed this editorial in its Sunday edition criticizing the federal government's response to Hurricane Katrina and calling on every female official to be fired at it. And they are absolutely
correct,
folks. Here it is. Now, did we actually put the Michael Moore letter on there? Because I know I sent it to you, Josh, but maybe you didn't put it on our website.
No, I did.
Oh, because people are faxing it in. It was on there. It was on our website, okay? We're on top of it, man. We got our thumb on it. Anyway, the Times-Picayune open letter to the President. Dear Mr. President, we heard you loud and clear Friday when you visited our devastated city in the Gulf Coast and said, what is not working, we're going to make it right. Please forgive us if we wait to see proof of your promise before believing you, but we have good reason for our skepticism. Bienville built New Orleans where he built it for one main reason. It's accessible. The city between the Mississippi River and Lake Pontchartrain was easy to reach in 1718. How much easier it is to access in 2005 now that there are interstates and bridges, airports and helipads, cruise ships, barges, buses, diesel-powered trucks. Despite the city's multiple points of entry, our nation's bureaucrats spent days after last week's hurricane wringing their hands, lamenting the fact that they could neither rescue the city's stranded victims nor bring them food, water, and medical supplies. Anybody ever hear of airdrop? By the way, just interject this. 2 days after the tsunami, we were airdropping food and water to the victims over there. 2 days.
Did you see 60 Minutes?
No.
They're showing how locally, within hours, they had rescue crews in there. They had the billboards for the missing people within hours after the tsunami, and they didn't expect that at all.
Right. Well, that's because Mike Chertoff, and the Mickey Brown, they didn't know what was going on. Meanwhile, the article says there were journalists, including some who work for the Times-Picayune, going in and out of the city via the Crescent City Connection. On Thursday morning, that crew saw a caravan of 13 Walmart tractor-trailers headed into town to bring food, water, and supplies to a dying city. Television reporters were doing live reports from downtown New Orleans streets. Harry Connick Jr. brought in some aid Thursday, and his efforts were the focus of a Today Show story Friday morning. Yet, the people trained to protect our nation, the people whose job is to quickly bring aid in, were absent. Those who should have been deploying troops were singing a sad song about how our city was impossible to reach. We're angry, Mr. President. We'll be angry long after our beloved city and surrounding parishes have been pumped dry. Our people deserved rescuing. Many who could have been were not, and that's the government's shame. Mayor Ray Nagin did the right thing Sunday when he allowed those with no other alternative to seek shelter from the storm inside the Superdome. We still don't know what the death toll is, but one thing is certain. Had the Superdome not been open, the city's death toll would have been much higher. The toll may have even been exponentially higher. It was clear to us by late Monday morning that many people inside the Superdome would not be returning home. It should have been clear to our government, Mr. President, so why weren't they evacuated out of the city immediately? We learned 7 years ago when Hurricane Georges threatened that the dome isn't suitable as a long-term shelter. So what did state and national officials think would happen to tens of thousands of people trapped inside with no air conditioning, overflowing toilets, and dwindling amounts of food, water, and other essentials? State Representative Karen Carter was right Friday when she said the city didn't have but two urgent needs, buses and gas. Every official at FEMA should be fired, Director Mickey Brown especially. In a nationally televised interview Thursday night, he said his agency hadn't known until that day that thousands of storm victims were stranded at the Ernest N. Morial Convention Center. He gave another nationally televised interview the next morning and said, "We've provided food to the people at the convention center so that they've gotten at least one, if not two meals every single day." Lies don't get more bald-faced than that, Mr. President. Yet when you met with Mr. Brown Friday morning, you told him, "You're doing a heck of a job, Mickey Brown." That's unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
There were thousands of people at the convention center because the riverfront is high ground. The fact that so many people had reached there on foot is proof that rescue vehicles could have gotten there too. We who are from New Orleans are no less American than those who live on the Great Plains or along the Atlantic seaboard. We're no less important than those from the Pacific Northwest or Appalachia. Our people deserve to be rescued. No expense should have been spared. No excuses should have been voiced, especially now when it's preposterous as the claim that New Orleans couldn't be reached. Mr. President, we sincerely hope you fulfill your promise to make our beloved communities work right once again. When you do, we'll be the first to applaud. Photo ops, baby. Photo ops. He's got the microphone going. He's got Karl Rove there right on his ass to make sure he's got all the right talking points, all the right storylines. Give me a break, okay? And half of this country can't see through this crap. What, have you got blinders on? Are you like morons? Are you imbeciles? Is that what it is?
Sure.
Oh. Here's a fact. I don't want to get all whipped up to a frenzy, man, but I've been holding it in.
Too late.
Rick says, "I can't believe this. Cuba, Iran, Venezuela," that's right, Hugo Chavez offered aid, Canada, countries you think would celebrate our misfortune are offering help. In the form that they can, Mr. Bush, this is not the time for pride. Unfortunately, due to your fiscal irresponsibility, we need help and need it now. Take whatever precautions you need to and accept the offer the help being offered. If Venezuela can help us with oil and gasoline, why not accept it? If they have engineers that can help bring our refineries back online and running at 100% quicker, what's the harm? Oh, then we wouldn't have to pay $4 a gallon for gas, which, believe me, that's coming very soon to a gas station near you. $6 in Atlanta already. Thank you, Mr. President, by the way, for those great low bargain basement gas prices. Fixing cuts, bruises, and broken bones and giving a shoulder to cry on doesn't take a U.S.-trained doctor. Iran has refineries and engineers to also help bring in our refineries and oil platforms back online. By the way, those engineers were trained at U.S. universities. Mr. Bush, I plead and beg you not to let pride get in the way of the help we desperately need, it says here, Rick. I used to like the Bishop T.D. Jakes, but when I saw him being used as the token black man by the Bush administration for photo op purposes only, it really pissed me off. I am a Christian who will not watch him again. How do you like that? Even the Goyim are getting PO'd. Calm down, Rick. What do you say about that?
Oy.
Yeah, Mickey Brown. Downtown Mickey Brown. That's a good name. I like that. Downtown Mickey. That's why we ought to send him downtown. Especially where the water is at the highest level there, you know? Don't drown, Mickey Brown, but if you happen to, no loss. 19 before 11, if you got a hair loss.
Care about black people. Good morning. We must begin by recognizing an essential fact. Poverty is one of the great moral achievements of American government. If we in government take our responsibilities seriously, the shortfalls will grow larger with each passing year. And we must tap into the problems and pass them on to future presidents and future generations. The American people voted for reform in 2004, and now they expect us to work towards bankruptcy down the road. I came to Washington to slow economic growth. I look forward to working with members of Congress on this important issue. Together we will make certain that America meets its deepening long-term problem. And most Americans are bankrupt. Thank you for listening.
He's working on it, okay? Because we're not part of his base, you understand that. And these people that have been drowning and dying and running around in stench and filth, they're not part of his base either, so what can I tell you? All those people that were on the highways, you know, going to high ground, that were on the expressways, waiting and waiting and waiting, all those people at the convention center in the Superdome in the festering heat, and humidity with mosquitoes as big as bowling balls. Oh, help is on the way. Help is on the way. And I understand your plight. And I see it and I understand it. Hey, they're coming. They're coming. Yeah, you know what? So is New Year's. So is next Sukkot is coming. Okay? Although I think that's in October. Probably Sukkot is coming faster than the relief. And now they're talking about all the great heroism. Fine, that's great. Coast Guard did given what they had, they did a hell of a job. But I still say it would have been nice to see a hell of a lot more boats picking people up out of those houses than those guys risking their lives dropping out of the choppers, you know?
Right.
Maybe call me crazy.
You're
but
crazy.
When there's water. Huh?
You're crazy.
Okay.
Well, you asked.
Wouldn't be the first time. WQAM, hello.
Hey, Neil, how's it going?
Okay, sir.
Hey, quick one. I was talking to my mother-in-law yesterday, and she says, did you see all those Godivas floating around over in New Orleans? And I said, what do you mean Godivas?
Yeah, okay, great. That's humorous.
I don't get it.
When the brown water starts coming out of that big
tube,
think about it.
Okay.
He's funny, don't you understand? He's a typical South Florida
Didn't know
moron,
that.
man. He's a simpleton. So you're right, I am crazy. That's why I took that call. You're right. WQAM, hello.
Are you back from vacation?
Yeah. You're right. WQAM, hello. This is our crowd. This is what we got. This is what we got. After all these days, and I'm thinking since Thursday, boy, when I get back on the air, these people are going to let out a flood of anger and hostility and being PO'd and whipped up to a frenzy, and it's the same, just exactly what you get. Now, actually, now I'm inclined to take more of these now. Now I'm kind of like amused. 567-0560, the land of indifference. In fact, look at that. Nobody ought to be fired. They all did fine. We got 11 votes on that. That is the best. They all did just great. WQAM, hello.
Hey, Neil. Hey,
Yep.
Neil. Did you hear George Bush saying that that place was this part of the world? He didn't say it was America. He was saying people are hurting in this part of the world. How dumb can you be, man?
Well, and take a look at him, and then you figure out the answer. WQAM, hello.
Good morning. How are you?
Okay.
I'm sorry, I was a little loud. Let me turn that down and get my window up. Hey, I was so amazed last week to hear Chernoff, the Homeland Security Director, telling people that he had no idea that there were people in the Superdome until Thursday.
No, in the convention center.
In the convention center, right? I'm sorry, in the convention center, right? Hey, and meanwhile, that was what they announced on Sunday. So in other words, what you're saying is that no one in FEMA or the government...
Nobody's got a television set.
No, paid any attention. Not only did they pay attention, they couldn't care less, Neil. They
Just
could not
a
care less.
bald-faced lie, just like the Times-Picayune said, a bald-faced freaking lie.
It's one thing to not, but the fact of the matter is they don't care. And unfortunately, you and I both know that there was people dancing a jig on last Friday. Dancing a jig, and it wasn't the people getting rescued.
Keep in mind that all this Homeland Security bullcrap was supposedly to protect us from a terrorist attack. This shows as clearly as could be that if we ever really had a major chemical or biological or, heaven forbid, nuclear attack, then this shows you what your government's capable of doing, which is basically nothing.
How about the wonderful new revelation that now we're going to make our new Supreme Court nominee the chief?
Yeah.
He has no experience at all, but let's make him chief.
Yeah, our beady-eyed, born-again chief, man, who makes Scalia look like a liberal. This is what the public wanted, man.
Well,
That's what they're going to get. I told them.
Listen, I know you don't like to turn the show into political, but right now we all need to spend as much time as we can on fighting Roberts getting put in as chief.
I
anything
got
else.
this for you.
John Paul Stevens.
Sir, listen to me. You got two chances of that happening, none and less than none.
Of us stopping him or getting in?
Of stopping him. None.
Oh, no, don't tell me.
He's in. It's a done deal.
Oh.
70 votes.
Neil, that sound is my heart breaking.
See you at the border, Pally.
Take care.
Oh, there's Arlen, Chief Inspector.
Senator Frist out live.
No, Senator Frist, there's another one for you, man. That Bill Fist, Dr. Fist. You see him a couple of times with a stethoscope around his neck? Boy, I was sure impressed.
No.
WQAM, hello.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hey, if there's one person that knows more about relief and how FEMA works, it's the Jeffster. And he's sitting 3 hours away from New Orleans, sitting on his fat ass with his crack-ho daughter and his jewelry smugging, Mao Parido wife, okay?
Yeah, but he's still trying to stick that back into Terry, don't you get it?
Dude, he's the one that should be shot.
Well, let's see. Let's see if this thing works.
Yeah, well, whatever.
Not that I disagree, you understand.
That's right.
Oh, God, that was good. See, I told you if you take enough of them, you take about 40,000, you get one that's really, it'll tickle your fancy. Speaking of passions.
My fancy what?
The New York Times' Bob Herbert writes, a failure of leadership. Bush to New Orleans, dropped dead. Neither the death of the Chief Justice nor the frantic efforts of panicked White House political advisors can conceal the magnitude of the president's failure of leadership last week. The catastrophe in New Orleans billowed up like howling winds of hell and was carried live and in color on television screens around the U.S. and around the world. The Big Easy had turned into the Big Hurt, and the colossal failure of George W. Bush to intervene powerfully and immediately to rescue tens of thousands of American citizens who were suffering horribly and dying in agony was there for all the world to see. Hospitals with deathly ill patients were left without power, with ventilators that didn't work, with flood waters rising on the lower floors, and with corpses rotting in the corridors and stairwells. People unable to breathe on their own, or with cancer or heart disease or kidney failure, slipped into comas and sank into their final sleep in front of helpless doctors and relatives. These were Americans in desperate trouble. The president didn't seem to notice. Death and the stink of decay were all over the city. Corpses were propped up in wheelchairs and on lawn furniture, or left to decompose on sun-baked sidewalks. Some floated by in water fouled by human feces. Degenerates roamed the city, shooting at rescue workers, beating and robbing distraught residents and tourists, raping women and girls. The president of the richest, most powerful country in the history of the world didn't seem to notice. Viewers could watch diabetics go into insulin shock on national television, and you could see babies with the pale, vacant look of hunger that we're more used to seeing in dispatches from the third world. You could see their mothers, dirty and hungry, themselves weeping. Old, critically ill people were left to soil themselves and in some cases die like stray animals on the floor of an airport triage center. For days, the president of the United States didn't seem to notice. He would have noticed if the majority of these stricken folks had been white and prosperous, but they weren't. Most were black and poor, and thus to George W. Bush administration, still invisible. After days of withering criticism from white and black Americans, from conservatives as well as liberals, from Republicans and Democrats, the president finally felt compelled to act, however feebly. The chorus of criticism from nearly all quarters demanding that the president do something tells me that the nation as a whole is so much better than this administration. Mr. Bush finally flew south on Friday and proved, as if more proof were needed, that he didn't get it. Instead of urgently focusing on the people who were stranded, hungry, sick, and dying, he engaged in small talk, reminiscing at one point about the days when he used to party in New Orleans and mentioning that Trent Lott had lost one of his houses, but that it would be replaced with a fantastic house, and I'm looking forward to sitting on the porch. Mr. Bush's performance last week will rank as one of the worst ever by a president during a dire national emergency. What we witnessed as clearly as the overwhelming agony of the city of New Orleans was the dangerous incompetence and the staggering indifference to human suffering of the president and his administration. And it is this incompetence and indifference to suffering, yes, the carnage continues to mount in Iraq, that makes it so hard to be optimistic about the prospects for the U.S. over the next few years. At a time when effective, innovative leadership is desperately needed to cope with matters of war and peace, terrorism and domestic security, the economic imperatives of globalization and the rising competition for oil, the U.S. is being led by a man who seems oblivious to the reality of his awesome responsibilities. Like a boy being prepped for a second crack at a failed exam, Mr. Bush has been meeting with his handlers to see what steps can be taken to minimize the political fallout from his latest demonstration of his ineptitude. But this isn't about politics, it's about competence. And when the president is so obviously clueless about matters so obviously important, it means that the rest of us, like the people left stranded in New Orleans, are in deep, deep trouble. And Bob Herbert, you are...
Absolutely correct, sir.
We're in deep crap, baby, just like those people in the water there in New Orleans, man. We're up to crap up to our armpits. They stole not one but two elections, and the public and the media sit back, bada-beep, bada-boop, bada-bop, what time's the ball game on?
This is Neil Rogers. This is 560 QAM.
This is the Neil Rogers Show. This is your brain. Any questions?
New Orleans thought it had been spared the worst, and then two major levees broke, and slowly the city filled with water.
The city that sits below sea level is now undersea. Officials estimate that 80% of New Orleans is now underwater.
The governor's been asking for everybody to say a prayer. I think we could probably do that for our friends and loved ones out there.
Good morning, America, how are you? Said, don't you know me? I'm your native son. I'm a train they call the city of New Orleans. I'll be gone 500 miles when the day is done.
Last Last night, we began this broadcast saying Katrina was bad, very bad. Last night, we didn't know the half of it. We are still learning just how bad.
What I saw today is equivalent to what I saw flying over the tsunami in Indonesia. There are places that are no longer there.
Nighttime on the city of New Orleans.
I mean, everything's just flooded. Everything, the whole city.
There, right there, are some people being evacuated.
We're hearing lots of stories of folks lending aid to one another.
Helicopters and rescue teams lifting people one by one, hundreds and hundreds in all from rooftops.
And we're hearing lots of stories like that of people assisting one another.
Just pray for them and for not just them, all the people down there.
You know, they're picking up the pieces.
Through the Mississippi darkness, rolling down to the sea. Good morning, America, how are you? Said, don't you know me? I'm your native son. I'm the train they call the city of New Orleans. I'll be gone 500 miles when the day is done.
Tonight I ask for your prayers for all those who grieve.
Hurricane Katrina has brought out some of mankind's very best.
I ask the American people to join me in saying a prayer for the victims and their families. God bless.
George Bush doesn't care about black people.
And shame on NBC and the Peacock, by the way. Peacock is molting that they edited that line out of the show the other night on the West Coast. Really ballsy, man. You people, let's manage the news. And, of course, the problem was that he went off script, you see. Everything has to be scripted, and it has to be approved by the Third Reich, the Fourth Reich.
By the way, could you play that clean so that I can have it for tomorrow?
Yes, I can. How clean?
Anytime.
It's kind of a dirty show. 405 votes already. We got a shot at 1,000, Josh Cordes. Josh is whipped up to a frenzy.
That's right.
Not?
No.
Well, why not? Now, did you get your move done? Are you, like, doing the stories at
I'm
home?
good to go. I got everything hooked up
good
yesterday.
To go, yeah. Now, is that like an ace, a deuce, or a trace? 405 votes on the poll. Because of the pathetic hurricane response, who most urgently needs to be to resign or be fired? Huh? All of the above. Now, pronto, subito, 120. This moment, instantly. George W. Bush, 115. A disgrace, an embarrassment, a bozo, a dumb, dangerous nitwit. He makes Alfred E. Newman look like Albert Einstein. The head of FEMA, Mickey Brown, downtown Mickey Brown, 92. Head of Homeland Security, Mickey Chertoff, he's got to have a lot more than that, I'll tell you that. Homeland Security, my ass. Mayor of New Orleans, poor Ray Nagin, 21. Governor of Louisiana, Kathleen Blanco, 16. Well, I tell you, when Bush showed up there at the end, of course, they didn't tell her they were coming yesterday.
No,
was it yesterday or Sunday? Yesterday. Yesterday morning. And so word filtered back to her orifice, and so she was the first one when he got off Air Force One. She was the first one there. And I bet you his eyeballs were rolling like a pinball machine. And then finally, after they both kind of went their separate ways, and when they were going wherever the hell they were going, he came over, gave her a little peck on the cheek, and boy, they ran in different directions. Nobody. They all did fine. 11. Nobody should take any blame. They did a great job, man. Lou Dobbs and Wolf Blitzkrieg have none out of the first 410 votes. We got a shot at 1,000 today. We ought to have like 10,000. Get out of here, Mo. Go elope with Al Michaels. Get out of my face, you moron. Don't forget, Mo will be on it, too, such as it is. I'm going to read the Michael Moore. It was on our website on Saturday. Okay, I just double-checked. I'm sure if Josh says it was on there.
I remember putting it up.
On Saturday, but a lot of people don't read the stuff on the weekend. It doesn't get as many reads as ordinarily. Plus, it was a big holiday weekend, and I'm sure a lot of people are out there playing golf and, going fishing.
Right, in the rain.
Hey, listen, playing golf in the rain is a good idea. People ought to get pneumonia out there busy playing a lot of golf. Vacation is over, an open letter from Michael Moore to George W. Bush. And keep in mind, this was written this past Friday, September 2nd. Dear Mr. Bush, any idea where all our helicopters are? It's day 5 of Hurricane Katrina and thousands remain stranded in New Orleans and need to be airlifted. Where on earth could you have misplaced all our military choppers? Do you need help finding them? I once lost my car in a Sears parking lot. Man, was that a drag. Also, any idea where all our National Guard soldiers are? We could really use them right now for the type of thing they signed up to do, like helping with national disasters. How come they weren't there to begin with? Last Thursday, I was in South Florida and sat outside while the eye of Hurricane Katrina passed over my head. Hey, he must have been right by your house, George.
Yes, it was.
It was only a Category 1 then, but pretty nasty. 11 people died, and as of today, there were still homes without power. That night, the weatherman said the storm was on its way to New Orleans. That was Thursday. Did anybody tell you? I know you didn't want to interrupt your vacation. I know you don't like to get bad news. Plus, you had fundraisers to go to and mothers of dead soldiers to ignore and smear. You sure showed her. I like especially how the day after the hurricane, instead of flying to Louisiana, you flew to San Diego to party with all your business peeps. Don't let people criticize you for this. After all, the hurricane was over, and what the heck could you do? Put your finger in the dike? Too bad Janet Reno ain't still the Attorney General, you know it?
No, but somebody is.
And don't listen to those who in the coming days will reveal how you... although I think probably Condoleezza could have filled the breach. And don't listen to those who in the coming days will reveal how you specifically reduced the Army Corps of Engineers' budget for New Orleans this summer for the third year in a row. You just tell them that even if you hadn't cut the money to fix those levees, they weren't going to be any Army engineers there to fix them anyway because you had much more important construction jobs for them building democracy in Iraq. On day 3, when you finally left your vacation home, I have to say I was moved by how you had Air Force One pilot descend from the clouds as you flew over New Orleans so you could catch a quick look at the disaster. Hey, I know you couldn't stop and grab a bullhorn and stand on some rubble and act like a commander-in-chief. Been there, done that. There'll be those who will try to politicize this tragedy and try to use it against you. Just have your people keep pointing that out. Respond to nothing. Even those pesky scientists who predicted this would happen because the water in the Gulf of Mexico is getting hotter and hotter, making a storm like this inevitable. Ignore them and all their global warming chicken littles. There is nothing unusual about a hurricane that was so wide it would be like having one F4 tornado that stretched from New York to Cleveland. No, Mr. Bush, you just stay the course. It's not your fault that 30% of New Orleans lives in poverty, or that tens of thousands had no transportation to get out of town. Come on, they're black. I mean, it's not like this happened in Kenny Bunkport. Can you imagine leaving white people on their roofs for 5 days? Don't make me laugh. Race has nothing to do with this. You hang in there, Mr. Bush. Just try to find a few of our Army helicopters and send them there. Pretend the people of New Orleans and the Gulf Coast are near to Crete. P.S. That annoying mother, Cindy Sheehan, is no longer with your ranch. She and dozens of other relatives of the Iraqi war dead are now driving across the country, stopping in many cities along the way. Maybe you can catch up with them before they get to D.C. on September 21st. Michael Moore. Now, speaking of Barbara Bush, I knew I'd find the article on this, and here it is, no less. Who wrote this? Kate Sheehy in the New York Post, of all places. In Rupert Murdoch's right-wing New York Post. First mom, Barbara Bush, yesterday walked past rows of poor and ailing refugees at the Houston Astrodome and then said, so many of the people here were underprivileged anyway, so this is working very well for them. What I'm hearing is they all want to stay in Texas. Everyone is so overwhelmed by the hospitality, gushed the white-haired mother of President Bush. Almost everyone I've talked to says, we're going to move to Houston. The former First Lady's comments were part of a broadcast on National Public Radio. The spokesman for her and her husband, Tom Frechette, said he did not have an immediate comment on the interview. Later on CNN's Larry King Live, Barbara Bush appeared upbeat about the stricken evacuees' prospects while sitting alongside her hubby, former President George Herbert Walker Bush. It's only been a week since Katrina cut a deadly swath through the South, she said, and look what's happened. Hundreds of thousands of people have been evacuated and are in comfortable shelters.
She should know.
Yeah. She acknowledged it's going to take a while for families to get together. Inside the Astrodome hang hundreds of heart-wrenching homemade flyers from families desperately seeking word on loved ones from whom they were separated during the frantic evacuations. They feature everybody from toddlers to elderly grandmothers. Barbara Bush adamantly defended her son's handling of the government's response to the disaster, dismissing critics who charged that he would have been more speedy in prodding rescue efforts if so many of the victims hadn't been poor blacks. People came up to me all day long and said, God bless your son, all races, she said. Meanwhile, her husband, who also met with refugees while announcing a fundraising effort with ex-President Clinton, said he could understand the criticism of the government's handling of the crisis. I'm certainly not satisfied with the way things were handled, the former president said. The first parent's comments came as President Bush called America's response to Hurricane Katrina amazing, but didn't offer the same praise for the government as he made his second visit to the disaster area. There was a big chill in the air as Bush and Louisiana Governor Kathleen Blanco toured the Baton Rouge, Louisiana Relief Center at a time when federal and state officials blame each other for the government's slow response in aiding the region. At a Baton Rouge prayer center, some refugees asked Bush for an autograph, but refugee Mildred Brown said, I need answers. I'm not interested in handshaking. I'm not interested in photo ops. This is going to take a lot of money. You go, Mildred. That's evacuee, not refugee. Fugees.
Right.
Yeah, these are the fugees. You do understand that, don't you?
I thought they broke up.
I'm getting choked up about it. Now, since we have people like Lou Dobbs, that Nazi on CNN, finger-pointing and getting his fat face right in the camera, and let's not politicize this. Right. See, anytime you criticize anything that the Nazi regime does, then you're politicizing it. You're making it political. You're not supporting the troops in Iraq. You're not supporting your country. You're anti-American, you commie pinko fag. And the same thing here. If you dare to criticize, then you're going to politicize. That's just an excuse to try to shut up all the critics, okay? It's just fascism is what it is. Just silence the critics. Just only say what we want you to say, and now is not the time. We'll let you know when it is time, and of course that time never comes.
Of course not.
Under the command of President Bush's two senior political advisors, the White House rolled out a plan this weekend to contain the political damage from the administration's response to Hurricane Katrina. Not that they're concerned about politics, you understand. Only the Democrats do that. It orchestrated visits by cabinet members to the region, leading up to an extraordinary return visit by Mr. Bush yesterday, directed administration officials not to respond to attacks from Democrats on the relief efforts, and sought to move the blame for the slow response to Louisiana state officials, according to Republicans familiar with the White House plan. See, nothing that they do is by accident. It's all orchestrated. That's why Karl Rove was one of the first ones to get off that plane and kind of like catch the lay of the land. The effort is being directed by Mr. Bush's chief political advisor, Karl Rove, and his communications director, Dan Bartlett. It began late last week after congressional Republicans called White House officials to register alarm about what they saw as a feeble response by Mr. Bush to the hurricane, according to Republican congressional aides. A feeble response. As a result, Americans watching television coverage of the disaster this weekend began to see, amid the destruction and suffering, some of the most prominent members of the administration. Richard B. Myers, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Donald Herman Goering Rumsfeld, Secretary of Defense, and Condoleezza Rice, back from vacation in the Monty Python show, the Secretary of State touring storm damaged communities. All for damage control, not property damage or life damage control, but political damage control. Hub and Dreard. As the Chinese, aren't the Chinese the ones who say that?
All the time. At those St. Bernard
Unbelievable.
farms.
It's 11 past 11 at 560 WQAM. If you're looking for a high-speed internet service, you want one that's fast, reliable, easy to use. In short, you want the best one. You want the number one high-speed internet service provider in America. Comcast High-Speed Internet. Its 100% pure broadband network blows away the competition with speed up to 15 times faster than DSL Lite. You can download music, photos, streaming video, online games faster than ever before. Simply put, Comcast High-Speed Internet gives you the very best internet experience around. And with features like the Fan, Video Email, Security Manager, and Radio Plus, it's even more intense than ever before. And right now, you can get Comcast High-Speed Internet for just $9.95 a month for the first 2 months. Call 1-800-COMCAST and get yourself the number one high-speed internet service in the country today. Certain restrictions apply. Call for details toll-free. It's 1-800-COMCAST.
This is Neil Rogers. Rock solid. This is 560 QAM.
Big blow.
Absolutely.
He always gets in trouble, then he gets another chance. He drinks a lot and then he does the naked chicken dance. He'll start a fight on any night because he's lost his mind. If they did a lobotomy, not one brain cell they find. Well, Doc Gooden has demons that he's battled all his life. One time he tried to cut his own hair with a butter knife. His problems cost him millions when he was playing baseball, 'cause he filled up his body with cocaine and alcohol. The latest chapter in the book of life for Dr. K took place one early morning while driving in FLA. The cops spotted his vehicle swerving, and so they knew they either had a drunk driver or stopped Mr. Magoo. And then Dwight hit in the night, his drunken ride. He tried to hide, but he couldn't win. He turned himself in and spent the night in jail. He's such a punt, he's just plain nuts. They missed the final nail. It's hard to feel bad for the guy. We've seen this all before. He cries and asks forgiveness, and then he comes back for more. Perhaps this time the public shouldn't give Dwight a pass. Maybe what he needs most is a good swift kick in the ass.
Rectum.
But where's the naked pictures? It's 11:16 at 560 WQ. I'll play that bit again next hour.
Okay.
And I'll give you a heads up and a heads down. I'll do an uno, dos, and a trace right on the floor. Jimmy Breslin writes in Newsday, While Bush fiddles, New Orleans dies. This is a review of the performance of George W. Bush in tight times in this nation. It might explain the single solitary, most catastrophic collapse of American government in all of our times. Mark ye well. This was the week when we turned a major American city into Haiti, and racism put its hand out and started to choke a nation and may not let go. With the water coming from the sky and the bottom of the sea, driving with such ferocity that a major American city, New Orleans, followed its face into the water, George W. Bush was at North Island in Coronado, California, speaking to a blindingly white audience of 9,000 sailors in uniform. At the hour, blacks were drowning in New Orleans. Blacks pushed through water that was up to their chest and was thick with the raw sewage of a major city. Blacks were on the rooftops begging to live. Wherever cameras swept, the only thing that was white was a towel being waved by a black woman begging for help, while the tiny legs of a baby dangled from her shoulder. She was in white Colorado, but Bush was in white Coronado to speak to a military audience on the anniversary of VJ Day. Get those sailors in their whites clapping. He barely seemed to understand there was a hurricane for the first 3 days. He was in Coronado, outside San Diego, and in his speech he managed to mention New Orleans by saying that people should not return to their homes until rescue crews do their work. Nobody had to be told not to return to their homes because they don't have any homes to return to and no bus fare to go anywhere. He then told Americans to send donations to the Red Cross and the Salvation Army. How marvelous! His administration sends billions and billions of tax dollars to his personal war in Iraq to shoot up Fallujah for the third or fourth time since he started the war with his lies, and now he wants everybody to go out in the street and give $40 to hurricane charity. Bush's style is to be nowhere if things that carry a bit of fear happen. During Vietnam, he kept all dental appointments. For the World Trade Center attack, he first froze in a classroom in Florida, then he flew off in his plane for long hours. 3 days later, he got to New York, where a flunky placed a retired firefighter, Bob Beckwith from Long Island, alongside him atop a truck. Then Bush called out a football dressing room speech over a bullhorn. Last week, he spoke in Coronado with the carrier Ronald Reagan parked in the background. This was his 6th visit to San Diego as president. In May 2003, Bush landed on a carrier, Abraham Lincoln, in the waters off San Diego. He wore a green flight suit with a helmet under his arm. Why shouldn't he look like this? He was an American warrior. He changed into a business suit and spoke in front of a banner proclaiming, "Mission accomplished." There have been over 1,800 bodies in boxes returned from Iraq since then. Friday, showing up on the 5th day of a national tragedy, Bush made a little humorous aside about the times he was in New Orleans, celebrating a bit too much. Beautiful. If he tried to walk 50 yards, he could have tripped over somebody's dead black grandmother under a blanket. How do you like it? How do you like having a president who, at a time like this, reminisces about getting drunk in New Orleans? White boy with daddy's money roaring at Mardi Gras in a town black for the rest of the year. If whites were in trouble in New Orleans, trust that his government would have been there early and aid would have been massive. This racism, which is the bottom of everything in America, makes it only natural for Bush and his people to talk about returning to Rudy Giuliani to save New Orleans, as he supposedly saved New York after the World Trade Center attack. In New York, Giuliani did nothing but go on television. That's all he did and all he ever can do. Beautiful. There are television cameras in New Orleans, and just like Bush, Giuliani doesn't want many blacks near him. If more than 2 blacks entered City Hall, he called for snipers. Giuliani doesn't even have a show up black like Condoleezza Rice, who bought shoes in Ferragamo in Manhattan this week. Bush got found out this week and needs his own rescue. Assure Giuliani that he could run for president if he does the job. As New York found, he can do nothing good about anything. That doesn't matter. Without somebody in front, Bush stands there uncovered, without an American flag draped around him, as the most incompetent president we've ever had. Jimmy Breslin.
Absolutely correct, sir.
Amen. Oh, by the way, you notice that gun sales in Houston, speaking of racist America, gun sales have reached record levels since they started using the Astrodome. Huh?
What would you do?
What would I do? Move.
Oh, okay. To Canada?
Move to Canada, eh? Let's see how many votes we got. You think we got a shot at 1,000 today, guys? I doubt it. These people just aren't whipped up the way they ought to be, man. They ought to be whipped. Not whipped up, just whipped. Maybe they're feeling kind of whipped after all these days. Maybe they're just looking for a little chuckle here today. Well, you know what? I ain't no chuckling mood. Are you?
Well, you kind of look funny, but...
Yeah, well, how can you tell?
Good memory.
How we got? No, you don't. Don't mind that real short hairdo. 467 votes because of the pathetic hurricane response. Who needs most urgently to resign or to be fired, did it, huh? Look at that. Lou Dobbs don't have any. I personally would like to just pee on his desk.
With him on it.
I'd like to have wild diarrhea right on his copy in the middle of his newscast in the 6 to 7 hour on CNN, okay? He just makes me want to scream. I was going to say something else. All of the above. Now Prado Subito, 141. George W. Bush, 136. A disgrace. There he is.
Until this recovery is complete.
Yeah. With his head down. Look at the body language there, huh? Got his head on like he's in praying. We haven't got a prayer, all you religious nuts. We haven't got a prayer with this bozo. The head of FEMA, Mickey Brown, downtown Mickey Brown, 102, say fire his ass right now. The head of Homeland Security, Michael Chertoff, 32. I'm pretty cheesed off about Chertoff. Mayor of New Orleans, Ray Nagin, 23. And by the way, watch your language, Ray. You're going to get that station finded.
G.
Governor of Louisiana, 20. Poor Kathleen. Nobody. They all did just fine. A dozen real comedians out there, but a dozen clowns. Wolf Blitzkrieg won, and Lou Dobbs has got the big.
Oh!
Because that's what he is. He's a big zero, Lou, you fat-faced turd. You egotistical, arrogant lunatic, man. Why don't you just go on there and put your arm up there at a 45-degree angle and scream Sieg Heil for the whole hour there on CNN every night, okay? And show us all the money you got. I don't know why he just doesn't resign that job and become chairman of the RNC, Republican National Committee. Probably don't pay well enough. Maureen Dowd writes, you can always depend on Maureen. United States a shame. Stuff happens, Maureen says. If it sounds like I'm reading a lot of articles today, too bad.
Good.
You know what I mean?
I like them.
Well, I don't care whether you like it or not. I know you like it. This radio show isn't designed just for you enjoying it. It's designed for the masses because the masses are asses, okay? And they can't afford to buy that gases. Thank you. And I want to say it right while he's on my TV screen. Thank you, Mr. President, for those low gas prices. Look at that. He's smirking. The smirking chimp. There he is right there.
Important to know the people.
He's smirking. Standing there making jokes. I saw that clip. I saw it live when he was doing that there in Biloxi. Talking about his days in New Orleans and about how he partied and how he partied maybe too much. People are drowning. People are starving to death. People have no water. People are wading around in feces up to their armpits. And here's their president yucking it up about his good old times when he was a good old party boy. 5 years ago. Or maybe 5 minutes ago. He's pretty, maybe dry drunk, wet drunk, whatever. Anyway, Maureen Dowd writes, am I getting a little bit too exercised here?
No, just right.
Good. Stuff happens, she says, and when you combine limited government with incompetent government, lethal stuff happens. America is once more plunged into a snake pit of anarchy, death, looting, raping, marauding thugs, suffering innocents, a shattered infrastructure, a gutted police force, insufficient troop levels, and criminally negligent government planning, but this time it's happening in America. W drove his budget-cutting Chevy to the levee, and it wasn't dry. Bye-bye American lives. I don't think anyone anticipated the breach of the levees, he told Diane Sawyer. Or as Tim Russert called them on Sunday morning Meet the Press once, he called them the Levies. Yeah, and leave it to him to make it into a Jew thing, the Levies. Shirt sleeves rolled up, W finally landed in hell yesterday and chuckled about his wild boozing days in the great city of New Orleans. He was clearly moved. I'm going to fly out of here in a minute, he said on the runway at New Orleans International Airport, but I want you to know I'm not going to forget what I've seen. Out of the camera's range and avoided by W was a convoy of thousands of sick and dying people, some sprawled on the floor or dumped on baggage carousels at a makeshift MASH unit inside the terminal. Why does this self-styled can-do president always lapse into such lame, who could have known excuses? Who on earth could have known that Osama bin Laden wanted to attack us by flying planes into buildings? Any official who bothered to read the trellis of pre-9/11 intelligence briefs? Who on earth could have known that an American invasion of Iraq would spawn a brutal insurgency, terrorist recruiting boom, and possible civil war? Any official who bothered to read the CIA's pre-war reports? Who on earth could have known that New Orleans sinking levees were at risk from a strong hurricane? Anybody who bothered to read the endless warnings over the years about the Big Easy's uneasy fishbowl? In June 2004, Walter Maestri, emergency management chief for Jefferson Parish, fretted to the Times-Picayune in New Orleans, it appears that the money has been moved in the president's budget to handle homeland security in the war in Iraq, and I suppose that's the price we pay. Nobody locally is happy that the levees can't be finished, and we're doing everything we can to make the case that this is a security issue for us. Not only was the money depleted by the Bush folly in Iraq, 30% of the National Guard and about half its equipment are in Iraq. Ron Fournier of the AP reported that the Army Corps of Engineers asked for $105 million for hurricane and flood programs in New Orleans last year. The White House carved it to about $40 million. But President Bush and Congress agreed to a $286.4 billion pork-filled highway bill with 6,000 pet projects, including a $231 million bridge for a small uninhabited Alaskan island. Just last year, FEMA officials practiced how they would respond to a fake hurricane that caused floods and stranded New Orleans residents. Imagine the feeble FEMA response to Katrina if they hadn't prepared. Michael Brown, that's downtown Mickey Brown to you, the blithering idiot in charge of FEMA, a job he trained for by running something called the International Arabian Horse Association, admitted he didn't know until Thursday that there were 15,000 desperate, dehydrated, hungry, angry, dying victims of Katrina in the New Orleans Convention Center. Was he sacked instantly? No, our tone-deaf president hailed him in Mobile, Alabama, saying, "Brownie, you're doing a heck of a job." I think it was Mickey Brown. It would be one thing if President Bush and his inner circle, Dick Cheney was vacationing in Wyoming, Condi Rice was shoe shopping at Ferragamo's on Fifth Avenue and attended Spam-A-Lot before bloggers chased her back to Washington, and Andy Card was off in Maine, lacked empathy but could get the job done. But it's a chilling lack of empathy combined with a stunning lack of efficiency that could make this administration implode. When the President and Vice President rashly shook off our allies and our respect for international law to pursue a war built on lies, when they sanctioned torture, they shook the faith of the world in American ideals. When they were deaf for so long to the horrific misery and cries for help of the victims in New Orleans, most of them poor and black, like those stuck at the back of the evacuation line yesterday, while 700 guests and employees of the Hyatt Hotel were bussed out first, they shook the faith of Americans in American ideals and made us ashamed. Who are we if we can't take care of our own?
This is Neil Rogers. This is 560 QAM.
Jason, you're on QAM.
We don't have any National Guardsmen because they're all fighting a war in Iraq right now.
Not the National Guard.
Pardon?
Not the National Guard.
No National Guard in Iraq?
There's no National Guard. No.
You fairy. I'm dying over here. Miami has the Dolphins, still the worst football team.
Absolutely.
They're every gambler's nightmare. They're every bookie's dream. They can't score any touchdowns, not even one field goal. And when you say Miami, you're still talking toilet bowl, 'cause they're the Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins number. How many teams in the league? 32. Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins. Don't bet on them, you'll always lose. The Dolphins can't beat anyone, can't even beat the spread. I wish that Vince Lombardi could come back from the dead. Nick Saban makes them practice while he wears that stupid hat. He'll end up like their last head coach, that loser Dave Wannstedt, and they're the Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins number. How many teams in the league? 32. Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins. Hi, Miss Don Shula, how about you?
Absolutely.
Some Dolphins are in trouble with lots of legal strife. Their tight end likes to work out by beating up his wife. Half the team are criminals, the other half's on drugs. And this is what will happen when you draft a bunch of thugs. And they're the Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins number. How many teams in the league? 32. Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins. They really are a motley crew. The Dolphins have no blocking. They've got no passing game. I've got just one suggestion. They ought to change their name to the Miami Tampons. And why do such a thing? They're good for just one period and have no second string. And they're the Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins number. How many teams in the league? 32. Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins. Again, the fans begin to boo. You suck! The Dolphins have no balls except the ones they're playing with. I just can't wait to see how Ricky Williams takes a hit. It doesn't matter if he never has another choke. It seems that this team's playoff dreams have all gone up in smoke. And they're the Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins number, oh, what the hell, 32. Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins. Now they're through. I'm dying on the head.
11:35, 25 till noon at 560 WQAM. Now, what's this thing you just sent me here? Federal
It's a
government
timeline.
response?
It's a first page of a timeline.
Across the timeline? Are we doing a basketball game?
Right. Then we
I
can
see.
put it
Maybe
up on
Mo's
her-
going to do a basketball game.
Absolutely.
Stick to the ball games, Mo. Okay, stick to something you might know about.
I can send the rest if you want.
No. Well, I mean, is it interesting? It doesn't look kind of
It
dull
is.
to
It's
me.
a lot of stuff
I mean,
that we already know,
need-
but it's just very. It's a point by point where everybody was while everything was happening.
What's the point?
That you know it.
Greyhound and Amtrak stopped service in New Orleans late Saturday night. That's, I mean, the thing with the buses is just so unconscionable. There should have been bus loads pouring out of that city before the storm, not once well, nevertheless. Here's the facts. It says last night during the Canes-Knowles football telecast, Jeb Bush was interviewed by Brent Mausberger.
Yeah, he was.
What?
Yeah, he was.
Well, then you can correct me if this is, or correct this fax or this chronic fax or if it's wrong. Jeb commented that he deposited $20 in a Red Cross relief collection bucket. Thank you, Mr. Governor. Did he say that?
Yeah, he's doing the big time help.
$20.
I gave 100.
I gave a lot more than that.
I'm sure.
Well, I can afford it.
I can't.
But I guess the fat-ass governor, with all that money for the crack rehab, he probably, hey, Governor.
Loan me $50.
Come on.
That was 200 more than I could afford.
That's fat-ass governor, by the way, to you. Also, due to the splendid work of our federal government, we hereby welcome Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana to the Blue States column. It says bring on 2008. That's only if all the black folks move back. Because they're all in the red states column. You can be damn sure that all these black people that are at the end of the world, they didn't vote for this regime, which is why they don't care about them. Don't you understand? Any more than they really cared about New York City. And if you're wondering the difference between, well, gee, look how fast they reacted here. There was a federal emergency management. There was a FEMA back then.
Right.
But then, of course, after 9/11, then we had the Bushmeister come in here and invent this so-called Department of Homeland Security to fight the global war on terror, which there is no global war on terror. There's only an invasion into a country named Iraq. That's all there is. While the terrorists are multiplying like flies, thanks to us. That business about it, I mean, it's just amazing to me, astonishing. Well, I don't know if you saw any of that press conference that Condoleezza had when she finally came back from shoe shopping at Ferragamo's. She came back on Thursday afternoon late and held an impromptu news conference. Well, is it true that you turned down the aid from Russia? Is that true? Well, we've received applications from over 30 countries who want to help, but we're considering. We haven't turned any of them down. What she neglected to say is they also hadn't accepted any of them either. Just take your sweet time and think about it and analyze it and organize it and, yeah. This is emergency response, the Federal Emergency Management Administration. Emergency my ass. God. When she has diarrhea, it's probably a bigger emergency in her house than this thing was. Good old sellout Condi Rice. What is it?
No argument here.
Yeah. World community offers U.S. assistance in an accelerating drive. More than 50 countries. And, of course, this on the heels of also your good boyfriend there in the afternoon wailing about, where's the rest of the world? We're always helping everybody. Read a newspaper, okay? Read a section other than the sports section, you bozo.
You fairy.
Over 50 countries have pledged money or assistance to help. And this is from Saturday, by the way, so it's probably more. I think it's like 60 now. Cuba and Venezuela have offered to help despite differences with Washington. Oil giant Saudi Arabia and small countries like Sri Lanka and Dominica are among the nations making pledges. Those damn Saudis, man, while they're raping you people at the pump, they damn well ought to be. They ought to be sending billions of dollars over here, those ragheads, those bastards, those criminals, those outlaws, those terrorist trainers. I hope that will remind Americans that we're all part of the same community. Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice said yesterday, meaning Friday, as offers kept pouring in. None has been turned down, Rice said at a news conference, disputing a report from Moscow that a Russian offer had been rejected. Now, who do you believe? Do you believe the Ruskies or do you believe Condoleezza? I believe those Ruskies, quite frankly.
I wouldn't believe
I don't trust
her.
them as far as I can throw them.
Yeah.
However, she said some offers were being taken up immediately, others somewhat later, depending on the needs on the ground. But Cuban President, well, I got the article on Castro. In her news conference, Rice singled out Sri Lanka for praise for making a contribution even as it struggles to recover from the tsunami and earthquake disaster of December. Australia announced a donation of $8 million to the American Red Cross. The U.S. is so often at the forefront of international aid efforts to help the less fortunate nations, Foreign Minister Alexander Downer said. The whole thing was kind of a downer. So it's only fitting that Australia should contribute to the daunting task of helping the thousands of American citizens, yada, yada, yada. France determined to show its solidarity with the U.S., offered it because they don't want us to invade them next. Offered a range of aircraft and 2 ships with helicopters and planes capable of airlifting tons of supplies, a disaster unit with 20 soldiers, a civil defense detachment of 35 people, an airborne emergency kit, and a partridge in a pear tree. How do you like that?
Wow.
Canada loaded 3 warships and a Coast Guard vessel in Halifax with emergency supplies and food and dispatched them today to Louisiana. As many as 1,000 divers, engineers, and reconstruction experts will be aboard. Dan McTeague, Parliamentary Secretary to Foreign Minister Pierre Pettigrew, said, remember all the firefighters from Canada that went to New York after 9/11? Mm-hmm. Well, I just mentioned that in passing. Canadian Prime Minister Paul Martin has announced the release of 30,000 barrels of gasoline and oil for U.S. use. And he was flipping Bush the bird as he did it. Japan said it would contribute $200,000 to the American Red Cross for its relief operations. Upon request, Japan is prepared to provide as much as $300,000 worth of tents, blankets, power generators, portable water tanks, other equipment, the Japanese embassy be saying. By the weekend, offers have been received from Armenia, Australia, Austria, Azerbaijan, the Bahamas, Belgium, Britain, Canada, China, Colombia, Cuba, Dominica, the La República Dominicana, Ecuador, El Salvador, France, Germany, Greece, Georgia, Guatemala, Guyana, Honduras, Hungary, Iceland, India, Indonesia, Israel, Italy, Jamaica, Japan, Jordan. I wonder what the Jamaicans are sending. Maybe some good weed, man.
They could use it.
Jordan, Lithuania, Luxembourg, Mexico, the Netherlands, New Zealand, Norway, Paraguay, the Philippines, Portugal, Russia, Saudi Arabia, Singapore, Slovak Republic, Slovenia, Spain, Sweden, Switzerland, South Korea, Sri Lanka, Taiwan, Thailand, Turkey, Venezuela, and the United Arab Emirates Schmataheads.
This is Neil Rogers. This is 560 QAM.
Bush doesn't care about black people.
Absolutely.
Don't like all the heartburn. Every time I see that retarded dimwit on my TV. He's President Trump. Republicans muscled in, an inarticulate idiot. I don't know why they would want this guy, but now he's here. We're screwed the next 4 years with President Trump. And get who we all voted for. Why did you want this? Lips drumming, stupid heat. Mindless, drunk, and rich kid. He's even dumber than me. He's President Trump. You don't care what it took. You got him in by hook or crook. The Christian right knows what's best for you and I, but have no fear. We've got a great leader here with President Trump. You failed.
Personal note to Ken Halpert, if you're listening, man, check your email. Okay, John is coming in today. Not yesterday, today, the 6th of September. At any rate. It's kind of sad, to come back to town and find nobody there waiting for you at the airport. But nevertheless, he can walk. 12 minutes till noon at 560 WQAM. Cuban President Fidel Castro told more than 1,500 doctors Sunday night that American officials had made absolutely no response to his offer to send them to the U.S. Gulf Coast to help victims of Hurricane Katrina. Well, we don't want to piss off those old green toots in Miami,
Right.
Castro, a longtime adversary of the USA, initially offered to send 1,100 doctors, at least 26 tons of supplies and equipment, but the communist leader announced Sunday during a televised speech that he had increased the number of physicians to 1,586. Each doctor would carry about 27 pounds of medicine. You could all be there right now lending your services, but 48 hours have passed since we made this offer. We have received absolutely no response, Castro said at Havana's Palace of the Revolution. And, of course, they sure didn't need doctors and medicine there, did they?
No. What for?
We continue to wait patiently for a response. In the meantime, all of you will be taking intensive courses in immunology and also something that I should be doing, an intensive brush-up course in English, Fidel said, the bearded bastard. Besides Cuba, several other countries and international agencies offered money and supplies to hurricane victims. In the past, Cuba's refused U.S. offers of aid, the most recent following Hurricane Dennis. That storm killed more than 10 people in the Caribbean island nation in July. At that time, Castro said he wouldn't accept help from Washington because of the U.S. trade embargo against his country. Castro had named the Cuban rescue team the Henry Rive Brigade in honor of an American who fought with Cuba's rebel forces during the Cuban War of Independence against Spain in 1895. The doctors who've been mobilized went to South Asia after the December tsunami and have worked with other disasters, but not good enough for George Bush and Condoleezza, baby, and certainly not good enough for downtown Mickey Brown over there at FEMA. You know where he hangs out, Mickey Brown?
I give up.
Downtown.
Oh, you just said that.
Oh, man. Absolutely.
Unbelievable.
Okay, let's take some calls. There should be good for a few laughs.
Oh, yeah.
5670560, pound 560 in the Verizon and Singular wireless lines. WQAM, hello.
Uncle Neil.
Yes, sir.
How you doing?
Okay.
Yeah, I was listening to Mo. I was just starting to like Mo, you know, kind of listening to him a little bit in the afternoon. And I heard that call. You know,
Yeah.
I drove off the road.
Yeah. How could anybody who's got like an IQ larger than their thumbnail be so unaware of what's going on around him in the world?
It's a perfect example of what's wrong with the whole country. But you know,
yeah, Mo.
Hey, Neil.
Yes, sir.
You still? I'm sorry, my phone's starting to crap. But
yeah.
I mean, like I was trying to get through to you know, I know a lot of people were trying to call in to tell him he was wrong, but
okay, well that's ancient history. WQAM, hello.
Hey Neil, how you doing?
Okay.
And you too, George.
Yo.
You too, George. How you doing?
You know, talking about Lou and everything. These guys, don't want any finger pointing because they know exactly where the finger's going to point.
Yeah, that's right.
And if this was the Gore administration, they'd be foaming at the mouth right now.
And Lou Dobbs keeps talking about, even though he doesn't want any finger pointing, he keeps talking about the local and state officials, and there's plenty of blame to go around. Yeah. He has no problem pointing his middle finger at those people, but God forbid anybody should point the finger in the direction of Washington,
right.
D.C. and downtown Mickey Brown.
You know who else has been writing some good stuff is your friend William Rivers Pitt, who I discovered on the Internet. He had a couple great pieces lately. But I want to know, where is the opposition? Where are the Democrats?
You know something? You know, I was thinking during this last break, besides worrying about Ken Halpern in that limo, I was worried about Barack Obama. Now, wouldn't he have been the perfect spokesman for the Democrats in this time of disaster? Wouldn't he? Where has he been? Where is he hiding?
I guess they don't want to rock the boat.
Well, that's a bad mistake. That's as usual, to sit back, keep. I see that Jew Lieberman and that Susan Collins are calling for a congressional committee to investigate what all the crap that went on. Well, but where are they? Where's the outrage?
Let's not hold our breath. And then also, just before I go, when he was speaking in South San Diego, he's comparing himself to FDR in the Iraq War to World War II.
Right.
And the country just sits there, and the country of sycophants sits there and says, "Oh, what a great man we have."
And the media, did you see any of the bits the last couple of days where they're talking about, oh, well, he does this so well, relating with people when he was doing those photo ops there in Biloxi. He does this so well, and he comforts people. You know, I'm just so tired of you people in the media, you suck-ups. You make me want to barf. You're pathetic.
I hate to say yesterday I was listening to Air America, but someone made a report that a German news network was reporting that he was appearing at a phony aid station. It was set up for a photo op and then dismantled as soon as he left.
Yeah, maybe he brought him a plastic turkey like he brought to Iraq.
I don't know, Neil. Heaven help us.
Good luck to you,
Have a good day.
5670560, pound 560 in the Verizon and Singular wireless lines. Just a bunch of suck-ups, man. It's pathetic. And this morning, what the hell? I told you her name before. The one that's on real early on CNN.
Yeah, I forget.
Oh, geez, I can't think of her name now. She's on like before 7 o'clock. And I forget who she was talking to or interviewing, and they're no longer newsreaders, okay? These aren't reporters we're talking about.
Cheerleaders. Who?
I can't think of her name.
I don't know.
But anyway, she's going on about, well, you know the president cares about black people, and you know, she's not anymore a newsreader. Now she's giving her opinions, and now she's defending, and now she's, just stick to reading the script, okay? You're nothing more than a glorified newsreader with a lot of makeup to cover up those wrinkles, honey. Carola Costello, that's her name. Ordinarily I liked her. She's okay. She's a bubblehead. She's, she looks good. But who the hell is she to be starting to give editorial opinion? Now everybody's an editorial commentator on there. Everybody's got an opinion because opinions are just like...
Rectum.
Yeah. Butts. Everybody's got one. WQAM, hello.
Neil.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to make you blow your brains out, and I hate to do it. Barack Obama is running around with Oprah at the shelters.
Oh, no.
I swear to God.
And they got Dr. Phil at the Astrodome now to, give some phony counseling to all those poor people in the Astrodome.
Yeah.
They'll probably blow their brains out.
Yeah, I'm so disappointed in him because I love him, but...
He's running around with Oprah doing what?
Glad-handing, ass-slapping, smiling, taking pictures.
Oprah.
I know. Sorry, Neil.
Well, there it goes. You're right. After the show, I'm going to put a gun right in my mouth. Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
See ya. I'm putting a big one right in my... 5670560. Wonder if I got an email from Ken. I mean, that's a little off the subject, but it's one of those.
This is important stuff.
What?
That's important.
It is important stuff, okay? It just can't believe it. There's no email message on there. Okay, well, he's just going to shine me, I guess. We'll find out. Just what I needed today. WQAM, hello.
Hey, Neil, how are you?
Okay.
Great to have you back. Listen, one thing that people took, I don't know why here they don't criticize it more. After Ivan last year, that man was here in less than 24 hours with his fat-ass brother.
Right, that's correct.
Doing everything, and it's just ridiculous. I don't understand why no one says nothing, and they pimp him up to be this great leader. And that last caller just took my thunder right away. Geez, now I forgot.
Yeah, well, he took it away.
Oh, yeah, the Democrats. We know what the Republicans stand for. What are the Democrats? Where's why are the only ones representing and carrying the water for the half of this country are comedians like Jon Stewart, Bill Maher, Al Franken, that most people don't even like. I love them all, but they don't represent everybody on the left. I just don't understand.
Yeah, who the hell knows? I don't know. Maybe the cat's got their tongue. Maybe they're analyzing it. Maybe they're playing it for... Who the hell knows? They're a bunch of spineless cowards, and they're as much to blame as anybody else.
Exactly.
The fact that Al Gore sat back and allowed them to steal the election in the first place in 2000, the fact that they were so spineless then, that should tell you a lot. And then, of course, Kerry comes up and does the same thing again in Ohio 4 years later. Spineless.
Neil, if they allow those guys from Cuba to come here, any ordeal will be a microcosm of what's going to happen here. They're going to lynch us all here.
Okay, whatever he said. You know what he just said?
Okay.
They allow those doctors to come. I think he said, hello, doctor? Something like that. What do we got on that poll now? Are we going to make our 1,000 today or what? I doubt it. 567. Yeah, it's starting to slow down now. See, they get whipped up a little bit for a minute or two, and it's like, it's raining. We don't care about this stuff. Although George W. Bush has moved to the top 171 because of the pathetic hurricane response, who needs most urgently to resign or be fired, as in impeached. That word impeach sounds peachy to me.
This is Neil Rogers. This is 560 QAM.
This is Mark Morgan. It's the 12 to 1 hour on QAM.
Okay, so you wanted me to play this pristine and clean?
Please.
You ready?
Ready.
New Orleans thought it had been spared the worst. And then two major levees broke, and slowly the city filled with water.
The city that sits below sea level is now under sea. Officials estimate that 80% of New Orleans is now underwater.
The governor's been asking for everybody to say a prayer. I think we could probably do that for our friends and loved ones out there.
Good morning, America, how are you? Said, don't you know me? I'm your native son. I'm the train they call the city of New Orleans. I'll be gone 500 miles when the day is done.
Last night, we began this broadcast saying Katrina was bad, very bad. Last night, we didn't know the half of it. We are still learning just how bad.
What I saw today is equivalent to what I saw flying over the tsunami in Indonesia. There are places that are no longer there.
Nighttime on the city of New Orleans. I mean, everything's just flooded. Everything, the whole city.
There, right there, are some people being evacuated.
We're hearing lots of stories of folks lending aid to one another.
Helicopters and rescue teams lifting people one by one, hundreds and hundreds in all from rooftops.
So we're hearing lots of stories like that of people assisting one another.
Just pray for them and for not just them, all the people down there.
You know, they're picking up the pieces.
Where the Mississippi darkness rolling down to the sea. Good morning, America, how are you? Say, don't you know me? I'm your native son. I'm a train they call the city of New Orleans. I'll be gone 500 miles when the day is done.
Tonight I ask for your prayers for all those who grieve.
Hurricane Katrina has brought out some of mankind's very best.
I ask the American people to join me in saying a prayer for the victims and their families. God bless.
There you go. Is that pristine enough?
That's wonderful.
Well, I left a little dead air at the end there, folks, because George wanted a clean cut. Uh-oh.
Don't cut.
Oh, I didn't know you were going to get cut.
Oh, yeah.
1202 at 560 WQM, the Mo Meister man, the guy who don't know. Mo, he'll be on it too. Here's a fax that says, give me a break. You think Condi Rice has any idea who Monty Python is and what Spamalot is all about? Or did she have somebody explain it to her? Maybe she had somebody explain it, but she was laughing her ass off was the report. She was yucking it up while people were drowning. Says the body isn't even cold and the Bushmeister was nominating the replacement for the old man Rehnquist who died. Why didn't New Orleans get a quick response like that? Excellent question. Because they already had this cooked up ahead of time. You can be damn sure of that. In fact, they probably poisoned the old man's tea. And you haven't mentioned Celine Dion and her act. Yeah, I was unfortunate enough on Saturday. Larry had that thing on. I talked to George about it before this show, and I should have mentioned that. I mean, what can you even say, you know? Everything is show business. Everything's a show. 3-hour, how you can help, yada, yada, yada. And so the only performer I saw in there was unlucky enough to catch Celine Dion. And she was crying and ranting and raving, and she was pretty good, actually, surprisingly. But then she's like right in the middle of this, the tears are rolling down her cheeks, and where is all the help? And now all of a sudden Larry says, well, Celine, if you got a song you can sing, tell how the way you feel right now. So and then somebody told me that everybody who was on the show Saturday had to sing a song. They all had to sing a song.
I'm going to cry.
Yeah. Well, she was. But I mean, come on. Larry, will you get with it? Somebody snap those suspenders and wake that maniac up already, will you please? Jesus. No email from Ken Halpern yet from National Limos. I'm sure that you're right on the way to send me an email, Ken, and take care of that business. I hope. While federal and state emergency planners scramble to get more military relief to Gulf Coast communities stricken by Hurricane Katrina, a massive naval goodwill station has been cruising offshore, underused and waiting for a larger role in the effort. The USS Bataan, an 844-foot ship designed to dispatch Marines in amphibious assaults, has helicopters, doctors, hospital beds, food, water, all of these things. It can also make its own water up to 100,000 gallons a day. And it just happened to be in the Gulf of Mexico when Katrina came roaring ashore. The Bataan rode out the storm and then followed it toward shore, awaiting relief orders. Helicopter pilots flying from its deck were some of the first to begin plucking stranded New Orleans residents. But now the Bataan's hospital facilities, including 6 operating rooms and beds for 600 patients, are empty. A good share of its 1,200 sailors could also go ashore to help with the relief effort, but they haven't been asked. The Bataan has been in the stricken region the longest of any military unit, but federal authorities have yet to fully utilize the ship. Captain ready and waiting. Could we do more, said Captain Nora Tyson, commander of the Bataan. Sure, I've got sailors who could be on the beach plucking through garbage or distributing water and food and stuff, but I can't force myself on people. We're doing everything we can to contribute right now, she says, and we're ready. If someone says you need to take on people, we're ready. If they say hospitals on the beach can't handle it, if they need to send the overflow out here, we're ready. We've got lots of room.
Between the federal government, the state government, and the local government.
I want to apologize to all the chimpanzees and just all the pansies for calling him smirking chimp. I mean, that's a great website. We use a lot of their stories, but that's an insult to the and that picture we got on our website too with all the chimps on there. We apologize profusely to them to put them in a class with this bozo.
Well, chimps are bastards anyway.
5670560. They're la bastards. Pound 560 in the Verizon and Singular Wireless line. WQAM, hello. Not there. QAM, hello. QAM.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I got two questions for Neil.
Yeah.
The Bataan can drop down its front end and go straight into the shore. And the other was, did Halliburton put in their bid yet?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we had that story on our website. Halliburton got a no-bid contract to start the cleanup. Did you see that?
No, I did not.
Of course. Absolutely, man. There's no question about it. Maybe that's where the vice president is. He's not really on vacation. Maybe he's sitting up there at the Halliburton headquarters at the boardroom, pulling a few strings and arranging a few things. You know what I'm saying? Eating a couple of wings.
I know what you're saying.
And, of course, that bull-dyke daughter of his.
You fairy.
5670560, pound 560 in the Verizon and Singular Wireless line. WQAM, hello.
Hey, Neil. I know Ron Jeremy could plug that Levy.
Yeah, okay, good. WQAM, hello.
Hey, Neil, what's up?
Yes, sir.
Hey, they just took my thunder, man. I was going to tell you that the Bush administration...
About Ron Jeremy?
Huh?
Go ahead.
That the Bush administration was on it from the beginning. Everybody says they weren't working on it. They're working from back to front. They were busy plotting no-bid contracts for Halliburton.
Well, that's already a done deal, man. It's done. Finito. Let me check my email here and see if Ken Halpern has responded to my 85 emails so far about this mini crisis that's developed here. Would have been nice if you emailed me yesterday, Ken, and said, what happened? Oh, here's one. You think this is it, George?
No.
It's not it. It's from TomPayne.com. Well, that's great, but what a pain that is. A pain about that plane. Oh, jeez. WQAM, hello.
Hey, Nick, just wanted to make an analogy. I want to compare Bush
apples to oranges.
I want to compare Bush to LBJ. At least LBJ realized he made a mistake with Vietnam. He decided not to run for the presidency in his second term.
Well, what do you mean? At least he. I mean, what kind of a comment is that? After they brought home 30,000, 40,000 kids in body bags, he realized he made a mistake. He didn't realize he made a mistake. He didn't run again because he knew he didn't have a Chinaman's chance in hell. That's why he didn't run again. God. That guy sounds old enough to remember it, so he ought to know what he's talking about. The only problem is he doesn't. He reminds me of somebody else. 1968, he didn't have any chance of winning the nomination. The country had turned because the media finally, thanks to Walter Cronkite and a few others, finally the media got onto it. And all these generals like Westmoreland that were on there every day lying through their teeth, just like the lies that we get now. They started calling them on it. The American public started getting the truth, and when we got the body bags started mounting, we realized that we were there for absolutely no legitimate purpose whatsoever. That's when the public... And, of course, then Nixon gets in, and what do we get? We get another 6 years of it with Nixon and Ford before they finally got it all over. And a total of 50,000 body bags. I don't see that email. You know what? I'm going to... I think maybe I'm just going to, take a half hour off here.
All right, I still got some music left over.
No, I'm serious. I might have to make a few phone calls. Now, maybe it was my mistake. Maybe I gave Ken the wrong date or something like that, because he's always been really great with the right date.
I can call him.
Can you? Yeah, I'll, that's a good idea. I'll fax you his number, his cell number.
Aye.
And then you can, coordinate. Because the plane is coming in at 1:05, and like they said in The Godfather, I don't want somebody coming out of the toilet with just his thing in his hand, you know?
1:05 today?
Yes, this afternoon. That's why I'm getting a little bit antsy now, because they evidently showed up yesterday to pick somebody up who wasn't coming in yesterday. So you would have thought that with that contretemps, their little mishap, that somebody would have emailed me yesterday and said, hey, what happened? Did somebody make a mistake? Maybe I screwed it up, Ken, but it would have been nice to get an email yesterday saying, hey, what up? Right? But it didn't happen. But nevertheless, WQAM, hello.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
How about halftime? Your fat ass governor was on there talking about he gave $10 out of his pocket at the.
Boy, it's reducing every minute. They said 20 before, now it's down to $10. I think it was you know what I really think he gave? I could be wrong.
$8.
Yeah. we don't have one that says 5.
I heard it was
9. Yeah, that could have been it. It sure as hell wasn't.
About 30, man.
No way he gave that much. Yeah, he's on there. He donated $10 or $20, whatever it was. Now, what was it? Was it 20, Josh? You saw
Yeah,
it.
I think it was 20.
$20. Oh, man. What a generous piece of turd, man, your fat-ass governor. See, I was thinking about that this morning when I was contemplating slitting my wrists. And that is, how is it that there are certain people who retain a high degree of popularity, like Colin Powell, for example, who sold the whole world out by going to the UN and lying through his teeth? Or Condoleezza, who retains popularity. Oh, that's Dr. Rice, for a reason still unfigured by yours truly. And, of course, your fat-ass governor, he's just tremendously popular because he lies a lot. Because he's a religious nut. Because he was obsessed with Terry and her...
Cube!
I don't get it, man. Must be you're not getting the really good stuff down there.
This is Neil Rogers.
Share it with George. He could use it.
This is 560 QAM.
Because they're all fighting a war in Iraq right now.
Not the National Guard.
Pardon?
Not the National Guard.
No National Guard in Iraq?
Not. There's no National Guard. No.
And here's to you, Mr. Garfunkel. Troopers found some pot in your limo. Whoa, whoa, whoa. God bless you, please, Mr. Garfunkel. There's a hefty fine that you will pay. So $100. Hey, hey, hey. Hey, hey, hey. Now you have a criminal record in our police files. In rehab you can learn to help yourself. Look around you, all you see are dilated eyes. If you're getting stoned, do it in your own home. And here's to you, Mr. Garfunkel, smoking ganja even though you're old. Whoa, whoa, whoa. God bless you, please, Mr. Garfunkel. Paul Simon hopes you're not locked away. Hey, hey, hey. Hey, hey, hey.
Exactly. 1217 at 560 WQM. Did you get those numbers I faxed you?
Yes.
And?
I called.
And?
And it was a good thing that I called.
And why is that?
Because otherwise somebody would have been hoofing it or cabbing it.
And?
And it's taken care of. It won't happen now.
Let me just ask you this. I don't want to start ripping anybody on here because Ken's been very, very nice to me. He's a good friend. But.
Yeah.
And I really don't know whether I screwed up and gave him the wrong date to pick somebody up.
That's
or
what he
whether
said.
Huh?
That's what he said.
I doubt it. But nevertheless, I'll take the blame for that. But if that be the case, wouldn't it have been the day yesterday to send me an email and say, hey, where was so-and-so and what happened if we have like a miscommunication? Did you screw up and give me the wrong date? Did chickens pee? Whatever. Because then I get the email. And what if I wouldn't have checked the emails?
Uh-huh.
See what I'm saying? But nevertheless. Thanks, Ken. Don't do it again. Good thing I had to, and see, send me an email and then not to, I give a response an hour later, which is when I got it, and I have 4 or 5 responses on there. You know what I'm saying? If you're not going to check the emails, what's the point?
Are you nitpicking again?
Yes. Thanks, Ken. You bozo. You
fairy.
He's a good guy. Jane faxes and says, and thanks for calling, George. In fact, John will take you out to dinner. Next time Rimmer comes into town, he'll take all you out to dinner.
It'll be a party. It's a mitzvah.
Yeah. Dear Neil God, Jane says, I gave $50 to the Red Cross and I'm unemployed. Well, that's really nice, Jane, because your fat-ass governor gave a $20 bill, that turd, that piece of garbage. I mean, stop and think about it. This is the president's little brother, okay? This is the governor of the state of Florida. This is a man from this rich, wealthy bunch of crook family, the Bush family, or Herbert, whatever the hell his name was, Prescott Bush, the banker for the Nazis. They got more money than Carter's got pills. And he goes on television, instead of just saying, I gave a nice donation, he says, I put a $20 bill in the pot. Or I bought some pot with $20, whatever. You can't buy too much pot with $20, but nevertheless.
It'll do.
Yeah, to hold you over. As much as I normally hate TV reporters, I think the New Orleans Convention Center would be a mausoleum with 15,000 to 20,000 dead if it weren't for certain reporters. I want to mention in particular, Jane says, Tony Zimbardo and Carl Quintanilla of MSNBC. Yeah, Carl Quintanilla was very good. I don't know who the other one is. And Kara Phillips and Chris Lawrence at CNN. Yeah, Chris Lawrence was outstanding. These reporters revealed the horrors going on there Thursday, and Kara Phillips really reamed the administration officials an ass who came on her show live for him between 1 and 3:30 that awful day. Nice going, Kara. You're no Lou Dobbs, thank God. And Jack Cafferty, man, he was sensational.
You go, Jack.
Yeah, I thought Wolf Blitzkrieg was going to have a nervous breakdown trying to calm him down. Of course, Wolf, the establishment shill Nazi bastard that he is. Jack Cafferty was fantastic. Jade says, I just hope they haven't been fired for showing the truth. I think this is going to turn into a big land grab now that they got rid of the dark folks. And after all, Der Fuhrer said in one of his first speeches, the good news is, and it's hard for some to see now, that out of this chaos is going to come a fantastic Gulf Coast. Jane also says, the City of New Orleans song just made me break down and cry. Love you and don't ever retire, Jane says. And guess what, Jane? I'm thinking right about now would be a good time.
We'll do that.
Oh, God. It's all yours, George.
I got some music queued up.
No, don't. What is it with this music stuff? Well, what is that all about?
It's called faking your way through the holidays.
It's not a holiday anymore.
No, not today.
Oh. Well, today is today, and yesterday was yesterday, okay? So don't... 645 votes, we got a shot at 700. We're not going to make no 1,000, I don't think. It doesn't make any difference to me, okay? Here's a lady on there, dark-complected lady looking for a 7-year-old son. See, this is... I'm not even going to say it. The lack of organization, the lack of coordination, and it's not just the federal government, it's not just downtown Mickey Brown. The city hadn't got a clue. The silly-ass sour governor, none of these people had a clue, including that Haley, give me a barber, that fat-ass turd there in Mississippi. Well, people like him, he's the poster child for what I hate, Haley Barber. And another one is that Bill Fisk. They are the poster children, and I'll tell you another one is John Roberts.
Yeah.
Speaking of beady-eyed evildoer, you can just see the look of that. You know, those born-again, these real Farbison born-again Christians, they have kind of that, like, hollow-eyed, beady, brainwashed. Thanks, Ken, by the way. Don't do it again. I'll rip you an ass. No, seriously, even if I did make the mistake, wouldn't you think if you went to pick somebody up, if that was your job, and there was nobody there, wouldn't you say, well, maybe somebody screwed up, probably him and maybe me, who knows, but I better email and find out. I don't think he's got my number here, or maybe he does. I don't know, but he didn't, nothing.
Or I'd say, hey, look, I made my trip. Best I can do. Too bad.
Yeah, thank God it's Ken and not you. You would do that. You'd say, well, I gave him my best shot. Oh, there's Rehnquist in a box. See, at least with the Pope, they carried him around on that slab, you know, they let everybody take a look, throw matzo balls at him, whatever.
That was morbid. Huh? That was brutal.
Yeah, what was that all about? Why do they do that? And this new Pope, man, you talk about Nazis. Man, oh, man. I guarantee he's got a card. Mm-hmm. He is a card-carrying Nazi. If he wasn't a member of the organization, he sure as hell qualifies. Beady-eyed Der Fuhrer. But I tell you, the Nazis are making a comeback. They always say that, you know, the world goes in cycles, and, well, we're in a cycle, all right. Why FEMA was missing in action. This is from the L.A. Times. I've been taking too many stupid... No, the calls have been okay. Since the beginning when we got some of your people on. Not my people, your people.
Yeah.
Why FEMA was missing in action by L.A. Times staff writers Alan Miller and Peter Gosselin. Oh, I wonder if he's kin to Goose Gossage. I wonder if Josh knows who Goose Gossage was.
Yeah, of course I do. The picture?
Very good. Mark the Bird Fidrich?
I don't.
You know, I'm not going to say anything. No, because you're doing a fine job with these stories, and some days lately I've been sending you way too many stories, and you're probably cussing me out and saying, oh, geez, 30 stories. Okay, so you notice today I cut down a little bit.
Yeah, that was nice. Keep it up.
Because it was a holiday. I didn't want to overdo it.
Let me just say, okay, you're not one to talk, because I do, if you do give me somebody who I don't know, I happen to Google them, and I will tell you one time you made a guy up completely.
Who is that?
I don't know. Some ridiculous name.
No, I did not.
You said he played for the Yankees, if you want to throw that out there.
Ishkabibble?
A.B.
Moishi Pupik? You're wrong. I never make up nothing.
Trust me, you made the name. I looked it up.
Jaime Schmendrick? He was a third baseman, I think. He was kin to Jim Breidwieser. Mark the Bird Fidrich was a very charismatic pitcher for the Tigers. He was.
I'm not saying him. I'm just saying.
No, but I'm just saying. I would think that. I mean, if you know who Goose Gossage was, which is also before your time.
Yes.
Who was a great fireballing relief pitcher for the Yankees. Mark the Bird Fidrich was. Who was the pitcher for the Red Sox? Also before your time, but you got to know, a real goofball, famous for Bill. Oh, geez. See, I should discuss these things when I'm doing the crossover with Hank, because he knows all of this stuff. Ask Mo. That's all he knows is a bunch of stupid sports stuff. He knows nothing about what's happening in the world. That's for damn sure. Hey, Mo, you're a moron. Oh, Goose Gossage.
I don't know.
Well, that's one you knew. You knew Goose. How about Goose Gosselin? How about Jocelyn Gosselin?
How about Mother Goose?
While the federal hey, you can't pass up a good goose. While the federal government has spent much of the last quarter century trimming the safety nets it provides Americans and has dramatically expanded its promise of protection in one area, disaster. Oh, we had a disaster, all right. They didn't let us down on that. Since the 1970s, Washington's emerged as the insurer of last resort against floods, fires, earthquakes, and after 2001, terrorist attacks. You know, it's that war on terror, that mysterious war on terror. But the government's stumbling response to the storm that devastated the nation's Gulf Coast reveals that the federal agency, singularly most responsible for making good on Washington's expanded promise, has been hobbled by cutbacks and a bureaucratic downgrading. Don't tell that to downtown Mickey Brown. The Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, once speedily delivered food, water, shelter, and medical care to disaster areas and paid to quickly rebuild damaged roads and schools and get businesses and people back on their feet. Like a commercial insurance firm setting safety standards to prevent future problems, it also underwrote efforts to get cities and states to reduce risks ahead of time and plan for what they would do if calamity struck. But in the aftermath of the 9/11 attacks, FEMA lost its cabinet-level status as it was folded into the giant new, unctuous Department of Homeland Security.
Oh, my God.
That's right. And in recent years, it suffered massive budget cuts, the elimination or reduction of key programs, and an exodus of experienced staffers. The agency's core budget, which includes disaster preparedness and mitigation, has been cut each year since it was absorbed by the Homeland Security Department in 2003. Depending on what the final numbers end up being for next fiscal year, the cuts will have been between about 2% and 18%. The agency's staff has been reduced by 500 positions. Among the results, FEMA's had to cut one of its 3 emergency management teams, which are charged with overseeing relief efforts in a disaster, where it once had red, white, and blue teams, and now has only red and white. Yeah, they didn't want no blue. They didn't want no blue team.
Yeah.
Sounds too much like those blue states, which is why the people in New Orleans, well, they're famous for the blues in New Orleans, right?
If you say so.
That's what? What?
No, I know.
That's why they're feeling mighty blue right now, I'll tell you that. 3 out of every $4 the agency provides in local preparedness and first responder grants go to terrorism-related activities, even though a recent Government Accountability Office, the GAO report, quotes local officials as saying what they really need is money to prepare for natural disasters and accidents. They've taken emergency management away from the emergency managers, complained Maury Goodman, who was FEMA's chief spokesman during the Clinton administration. These operations are being run by people who are amateurs at what they are doing.
Absolutely correct, sir.
This is Neil Rogers. This is 560 QAM.
It was a stunt rejoin. Didn't you hear it?
I heard it.
Like in the middle of it, like I'm supposed to be psychic, like I know which time he says, that is just crap.
Psych.
Oh, my God. And where the hell was the thing I was just playing?
Right here.
It
right
was
over
so
here.
perfect, huh?
I don't know. Load it back up again. I'll play music.
Oh, I can't find it. Oh, here it is. I got it. Just relax, okay? Thanks, Clarence, you
and
idiot.
Now, on the campaign trail with George W. Bush. Today, America's candidate addresses the unionized workers at South Carolina's Turbine Town Factory.
Right, did they hear? In Nevada. South Carolina, Nevada. I want to be your president because I can relate to the ignorant blue-collar worker. Don't say that. The ignorant worker all over the world.
Hey, Bush, what do you know about working?
Never have worked a day in my entire life. Hands smooth, silky, palm olive. You're soaking in it. Let's go to the next question.
Yo, May!
Yes, sir.
Yeah, well, you gonna legalize marijuana?
Good question. Important. Substantive. Marijuana legalization? No. Absolutely not. Cocaine? Yes. PCP? Heroin? Probably. Barbiturates? Amphetamines? Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Now you?
What are you going to do for the black man?
Thanks for asking. First thing I'd like to do, see me one up close. Not too close, no touching. Perhaps maybe get a what? Can I get a what?
All right, George W. Bush, thank you very much. We got to go,
Can I
sir.
get a what?
We got to go.
On the campaign trail with George W. Bush.
Which is a great bit. The only problem is the voice that they're doing is Papa Bush. But nevertheless,
Yeah, we'll take it.
You have to suspend disbelief or whatever that is. There's Trent Lott. Poor Trent Lott who lost his house, man. We can't wait till we're sitting on the porch drinking pina coladas with Trent Lott and Jimmy Buffett.
One of his houses.
Yeah, one of his 18 houses.
Yeah.
I wonder if they saved the pom-poms. I sure hope they didn't wash away.
Oh, man, that would be tragic.
Man. Anyway, say nice things about Ken Halpern. He's a great guy, and he does a good job, and you screwed him up. Let's blame it on George. Blame it on Josh.
Why not? Yeah.
He don't even know who Mark the Bird Fidrich is, and I did not make up any name.
Yes, you definitely did.
Well, see, if you gave me the name, then we could examine this. We could
some
do it on the air.
ridiculous name that you said this guy played for the Yankees.
Well, if I said he played, he played. Like oh, I know, probably like Norm Seaburn or Jerry Lumpy. Is that who it was?
No.
Jerry Lumpy. Do you think I made up that name? L-U-M-P-E. Look it up.
It wasn't
Jerry.
that. It was a ridiculous name that you just pulled
Like
out.
what?
I can't remember.
Chaim Schmendrick?
I just remember looking it up, and there was no such player.
Okay.
Ever.
Okay, whatever you say. I doubt it. This is great. But before I read this, let me just say it again. That photo opportunity that he pulled off with Karl Rove, and I don't think he fooled too many people, except, of course, for the gullible reporters, which they were just, fawning about how wonderful he is in dealing with the people and human... Yeah, right. When they had him mic'd, not only out there with the public, very safely far away from anywhere the flooding was, and this was in Biloxi, not in New Orleans, and they had him mic'd in the hangar there at the airport. Did you see that part?
Yeah.
That was the part where he was with downtown Mickey Brown, and he was and we were just talking casually, but as if he didn't realize we were hearing him. But of course he knew we were hearing him because he had a microphone on, dummy. And talking about what a fine job everybody was doing, and Mickey Brown and all this other crap. Then they take him out there, and an hour later we see he's safely standing around under a big old tree next to some trailer park. And he's got a couple of dark-complected young girls there, and he's emoting and kissing them on the head and holding them. And to my amazement, then we hear the audio. Mm-hmm. You see, I know, boys and girls, it may come as a shock to you, but on television, when they take pictures of people, unless you have microphones there that are planned ahead of time, and unless you open those microphones so the public can hear, you don't hear what they're saying.
What are you saying?
Photo op. How can you have the nerve, the gall, El Presidente, to turn other people's tragedy into your own personal photo op, to try to show us about your compassionate conservatism, my ass? You hate-mongering lunatic, you murderer, you butcher of Washington, you. And so was there any wonder that he didn't show his lily white ass there in New Orleans, except at the airport, on the edge of the airport, that you can be damn sure they had secured real well. Ed Naha. Well, remember we had the other article? He's good.
Right.
I forget who the hell he is, though, but he's very good.
We like him.
From Smirking Chimp is where the story comes from. But at any rate, this is a long story. And you know what? I'm going to read it anyway. This might be one of those I have to interrupt, which I usually don't do that no more, because this business of reading, gets Miguel very upset. How's Miguel doing, by the way? Don't hear from him no more. Is he still there?
Yeah, he was in here this morning.
Is Josh Cordes' mother still chasing him around the hallway? Oh. Ed Naha writes the worst president ever, and Ed, as usual, is
absolutely correct, sir.
I think I'm going to. Look at that. None stayed as long as they could at the convent. Well, thank God for that.
And then what happened?
And then they flew away. Can penguins fly? I don't think so. They
no, but they swim like sons of bitches.
And I still can't get over that seal that we saw on. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
What was that all about?
I don't know.
Although I saw that the zoo came out okay, which is good, and then I saw some poor little doggies there. That just broke my heart. You see dogs floating like on driftwood and stuff?
There was a guy that refused to get on the bus because he didn't want to abandon his dogs.
Right, I saw that guy.
Pull it out.
And in fact, I think they should have just taken the dog and left him behind. I didn't know that guy. That was that white guy, that bearded old coot man.
I'm responsible for my dog.
Yeah. Well, and then there was the other guy who had the Mariners outfit on.
Mm-hmm. Appropriate.
It is beyond belief what has gone on there for over a week now. And the worst part of it is there still are people stranded. There's still people stranded.
Yeah.
And just like the article that you ever think about boats? You ever think about all these other ways? Don't give us and what the thing about not feeding the people in the Superdome, the convention center, and on the expressway there, thousands and thousands of people, assuming that you're right, which was a lie about the fact they couldn't get to them, but assuming that it was airdrop.
Yeah.
And all these different companies donating millions of bottles of bottled water and food and all this other stuff. And couldn't get it to you. I'm surprised that Bush didn't want to start a riot there. Probably would have made a deal with the colonel. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine the scene?
That's brutal.
I don't even want to think about it. I guess we'll do the break, then I'll read about why he's the worst president ever. And, of course, like I said, Ed Naha has got his thumb right on it. 22 till 1 at 560. And don't forget, there are no National Guard troops in Iraq.
This is Neil Rogers. This is 560 QAM.
Yeah, you'd like to take the break, but the vault...
But what happened? The auto vault crashed? Oh!
Shocking.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God.
Well, George was telling me before the show today we were commiserating about his disaster yesterday that he had to come in on the Labor Day.
There you go.
Vanessa speaking. How can I help you?
Hey, Vanessa. It's the...
No, you said it.
Afternoons to the 4. Sports Radio 560 QAM.
Jason, you're on QAM.
We don't have any National Guardsmen because they're all fighting a war in Iraq right now.
Not the National Guard.
Pardon?
Not the National Guard.
No National Guard in Iraq?
There's no National Guard. No.
No, that's the single dumbest thing.
George Bush doesn't care about black people.
If anybody has opinions dissenting from our way, we'll place your name into the system as enemy of the state. Don't even bother to question, just follow and obey. Everybody's turning fascist USA. In the act of patriotism, we're watching all of you. Everyone's under suspicion, so that's what you do. This disinformation and all you mindless fools in Bush Fatherland Nation, fascist USA. You gotta hate those Jews and Clinton liberals too. Believe everything we tell you, and the state run you. Blood war for corporate, fill up your Escalade. A Reuben Cheney Bush venue, fascist USA. Oh, we don't mind to see our jobs go, that economy's good. We're fascinated by J-Lo, don't read no stupid books. All now are embracing the past American way. Everybody's turning fascist, fascist USA.
It's about 45, man. We got all kinds of technical stuff going on. You want to know why? Because it's the aftermath of the holidays. We finally... I mean, this isn't like... Is this... Not on the calendar, but I'm talking about the end of summer kind of like... This is it, right?
This is it. It's done. It's over. It's after
done.
Labor
No
Day.
more holidays. No more 4th of July. No more Labor Day. No more of these silly-ass holidays. No more... I think we got Sukkot yet, but after that... And Halloween. After those, it's all over. Then we get put our nose to the grindstone and get down to serious business, right?
Yeah, there's something.
Something like that. But in the meantime, we're just like trying to get our equipment all greased up and ready to go again.
Grease.
Oh. Ed Naha, the worst president ever. Last Sunday, a Category 5 hurricane named Katrina was heading for New Orleans and the Gulf Coast. George Bush on vacation mentioned it in passing, then he talked about Iraq while still hiding from Cindy Sheehan. Last Monday, Katrina, now a Category 4 hurricane, slammed into the Gulf Coast, destroying 90,000 square miles, causing hundreds of thousands of Americans to become homeless and probably killing thousands. George was in Arizona and California talking up his adult Medicaid prescription program before invite-only crowds. Tuesday, thousands were stranded down south. 80% of the Big Easy was underwater. Bodies were floating everywhere. George was in California comparing Iraq to WW2, the big one. You go there, G.I. George, the human definition of the word disconnect. As the catastrophe simmered in the Gulf like bad gumbo, Bush woke up eventually to reality, as much as he can ever wake up and recognize his own unique take on reality. Headline, President cuts vacation short to return to Washington. Bush cut his vacation short by 2 days as thousands of citizens down south wandered or swam around in the sweltering heat with no food, no water, no homes, no way to get out. What a guy. This man has to be the biggest mistake ever to get elected, question mark, in the history of America. By Wednesday and Thursday, Bush was acting very presidential, which via his grimaces resembled a bad bout of constipation. He'd flown over the disaster area at a comfy 5,000 feet, being photographed frowning and concerned, gazing out the window as he saw not a lot, and was going to actually show up by weekend at the scene, sort of. New Orleans was considered too dangerous still, so he opted for Mobile and Biloxi with a New Orleans aerial tour. Aside from the fact that, unlike a terrorist attack, this hurricane's path was predicted 4 days before it struck. Aside from the fact that this hurricane has proven that Homeland Security is a totally ineffective monolith of an agency staffed through cronyism, aside from the fact that most of this was seen coming for a long time, W exclaimed that the levee breaks in New Orleans took everyone by surprise. And he expects us to buy that. Want to buy some WMD? The saddest part of all this, New Orleans didn't have to go out like that in sorrow and horror and anarchy. The reason it did, Bush's hard-on for Iraq. It's a news story.
Oh.
Under Bush's leadership, federal flood control spending for southeastern Louisiana has been cut from $69 million in 2001 to $36.5 million in 2005. Federal hurricane protection for the Lake Pontchartrain vicinity in the Army Corps of Engineer budget sank from $14.25 million in 2002 to $5.7 million this year. Louisiana Democratic Senator Mary Landrieu pleaded for $27 million. No deal. Iraq was more important. According to Louisiana's Times-Picayune, from 2004 to 2005, Iraq was specifically cited as the reason for lack of hurricane and flood control dollars. In early 2004, as the cost of the conflict in Iraq soared, Bush proposed spending less than 20% of what the Army Corps of Engineers said was needed for Lake Pontchartrain, according to a February 16, 2004 article in New Orleans City Business. Bush then cut $71.2 million from the budget of the New Orleans Corps of Engineers, a 44% reduction. As was reported in New Orleans City Business at the time, that meant a major hurricane and flood projects will not be awarded to local engineering firms. Also, a study to determine ways to protect the region from a Category 5 hurricane has been shelved for now. Oops. On June 8th, here we go again, Walter Maestri, Emergency Management Chief for Jefferson Parish, Louisiana, told the Times-Picayune, it appears that the money's been moved in the President's budget to handle Homeland Security and the war in Iraq, and I suppose that's the price we pay. Nobody locally is happy that the levees can't be finished and that we're doing everything we can to make the case that this is a security issue for us. A Newshouse News Service article published last Tuesday night observed the Louisiana congressional delegation urged Congress earlier this year to dedicate a stream of federal money to Louisiana's coast, only to be opposed by the White House. In its budget, the Bush administration proposed a significant reduction in funding for Southeast Louisiana's Chief Hurricane Protection Project. Bush proposed $10.4 million, a sixth of what local officials say they need. Local officials are now saying, the article reported, that had Washington heeded their warnings about the dire need for hurricane protection, including building up levees and repairing barrier islands, the damage might not have been nearly as bad as it turned out to be. Hard-hit Mississippi Governor Haley Barbour, who's been tearful, understandably so, on the airwaves, hasn't really mentioned his anti-global warming stance or his support of Bush's slashing of FEMA funds or the fact that he backed Bush's sending an endless supply of National Guard troops and important equipment to Iraq. Over a third of Louisiana's troops are in Iraq. Over 40% of Mississippi's troops are in Iraq. Mo. Bush, for his part, has been appropriately slow-witted and even more flat-footed in his reaction to this tragedy. Sunday, as Katrina was about to savage the Gulf Coast, here's our feckless leader. Hurricane Katrina is now designated a Category 5 hurricane. We cannot stress enough the danger this hurricane poses to Gulf Coast communities. I urge all citizens to put their own safety and the safety of their families first by moving to safe ground. Please listen carefully to instructions provided by state and local officials. On another matter, today Iraqi political leaders completed the process for drafting a permanent constitution. Their example is an inspiration to all who share the universal values of freedom, democracy, and the rule of law. The negotiators and drafters of this document braved the intimidation of terrorists, and they mourn the cowardly assassination of friends and colleagues involved in the process of drafting the Constitution. Thank you for your heartfelt concern, George. Tuesday, as New Orleans and the Gulf Coast was deemed destroyed, as we deliver relief to our citizens to the south, our troops are defending all our citizens from threats abroad. In the war on terror, all of you gathered here today are playing a critical role. Let's get aboard that WW2 train full speed. 60 years ago this Friday, General Douglas MacArthur accepted the Japanese surrender aboard the USS Missouri in Tokyo Bay. When Japan surrendered, the last of our enemies in WW2 was defeated, and a world war began for America in the Pacific came to an end in the Pacific. As we mark this anniversary, again we're a nation at war. Once again, war came to our shores with a surprise attack that killed thousands in cold blood. Once again, we face determined enemies who follow a ruthless ideology that despises everything America stands for. Once again, America and our allies are waging a global campaign with forces deployed on virtually every continent. And once again, we won't rest until victory is America's and our freedom is secure. Our goal is clear as well. We'll defeat the terrorists. We'll build a free Iraq that'll fight terrorists instead of giving them aid and sanctuary. A free Iraq will offer people throughout the Middle East a hopeful alternative to the hateful ideology being peddled by the terrorists. A free Iraq will show that when America gives its word, America keeps its word. And bear in mind, people in America were actually drowning during this speech. People were dying of dehydration and lack of medical care. No one knew what to do. Phone lines were down. No instructions could be given. Buildings were crumbling. Hundreds of thousands of people were being forced out of their homes forever. Countless homes were being obliterated as if hit by an atomic bomb. These facts didn't register with him until probably one of his advisors pointed them out via a well-placed 2x4 to the back of his thick skull. Hurricane Katrina may prove to be the biggest disaster in American history. It took place on Bush's watch. Eventually, by Wednesday, George snapped too. He forgot WW2. He forgot Iraq for a minute. He considered the dead Americans, present tense, human flotsam floating in the murky floodwaters of Katrina. He played president and declared, America will be stronger for it. Yuck. At this point, some heavy criticism started heading his way. Why was there such a lack of rapid response? Why was the Coast Guard almost single-handedly tackling the situation along with brave, underfunded local first responders? Why was FEMA folded into Homeland Security and hamstrung? Where exactly was Homeland Security? Why was our rapid emergency response resembling a Ringling Brothers clown card skit? His response? He paraded out his father and Bill Clinton intoning, in the days ahead, the former presidents will ask Americans to open their hearts and their wallets to help those in need because this country is bankrupt thanks to the Iraq plus tax cut combo. Later, after talking with his cabinet and lots of pasty-faced Republicans, he touched on the humanity of the situation, stating, we particularly spent a lot of time talking about the damage done to our infrastructure, our energy infrastructure, and its effect on the availability and price of gasoline. In our judgment, we view this storm as a temporary disruption that's being addressed by the government and by the private sector. Still later, we again touched upon the human loss. A lot of crude production has been shut down because of the storm. I instructed Secretary Bodman to work with refiners, people who need crude oil, to alleviate any shortage through loans. The EPA has granted a nationwide waiver for fuel blends to make more gasoline and diesel fuel available throughout the country. This will help take some pressure off of gas prices. But our citizens must understand this storm has disrupted the capacity to make gasoline and distribute gasoline. Oh, the humanity, the humanity. And, of course, the oil companies have jacked up their prices of gas merely to make a bigger profit. And, of course, we'll all have to pay at the pump. And, of course, the EPA's relaxation of emission standards will heat up the atmosphere, and hence the oceans even further. Talk about a catch-22. And, of course, W will do nothing except look concerned before the cameras and vow to stay the course in terms of rebuilding. He could roll back his tax cuts to give the economy a boost and not to have to request low-wage earners to reach into their pockets across the country to pay for the hurricane mess, but that would be unthinkable. So as hundreds of thousands of people are stranded and are being shuttled out to different states to live in the equivalent of nouveau Hoovervilles, as the bodies pile up, as Americans are all told to give all they can give, the president appears on the tube and tells us, just hang in there. Woo-hoo, go team. In a photo op in Mobile on Friday, Bush basically phoned it in. Confronted by chaos, he returned to his Bible of braying bromides, saying that everything was going to be just fine. We should love our neighbors the way we want to be loved ourselves. And he talked about compassion. By speech's end, he seemed to be on the verge of breaking out into The Sun Will Come Out Tomorrow from the Broadway musical Annie. He later hit Mississippi, hugging a lot, and flew over New Orleans, finally taking to the podium at Louis Armstrong Airport and declaring, and may God continue to bless this country. If this is a blessing, what exactly would you consider a curse? At a certain point, he was asked by a reporter, one of the things you hear is people saying a lot of resources are being devoted to Iraq. Now this country needs them, and they're frustrated about that. What do you say to the people who say there's too much money being spent on Iraq and it's time to bring them home? The president responded, I just completely disagree. We've got a job to defend this country in the war on terror, and we've got a job to bring aid and comfort to the people of the Gulf Coast, and we'll do both. We've got plenty of resources to do both. Tell that to the dead people, George, to the dying. When asked how he planned to rebuild New Orleans, the president ventured, my thoughts are, we're going to get somebody who knows what they're talking about when it comes to rebuilding cities. I'm going to delegate. And he's done for 4.5 years, and that's panned out so well. Mm-hmm. And our president came up with the perfect way to stop the violence in New Orleans. We have to get the people food, he declared. Ironically, if Arne exists anymore, the food magically showed up when George deigned to visit the disaster area a full 5 days after the hurricane hit. By comparison, after the massive tsunami last year, there were food drops within 48 hours. Oh, if you want to see violence, George, wait until these storms victims try to file for bankruptcy after October 17th and find that thanks to your new bankruptcy law, they're pretty much screwed. Some other politicians have started weighing in, their jaws hanging at ankle level. It's impossible to defend something like this happening in America, said former House Speaker Newt Gingrich. No one can be happy with this kind of response that we've seen in New Orleans, said Republican Governor Mitt Romney of Massachusetts. And 2 key U.S. senators said on Friday they'll open bipartisan investigation into what they described as an immense failure of the government response to the victims of Hurricane Katrina. I think I'll take the break and then I'll finish this. It's a little bit long, but you know what? Too bad. Thanks. 12:57 at QAM.
This is Neil Rogers. This is 560 QAM.
I love baseball season. Ours are the Marlins. Come on, I'm talking the big leagues. Thought about
Miami, Fort Lauderdale.
It's Scott Farrell. And when I'm up in Boca Chica slapping old women with painted lips around the pool, I listen to the Neil Rogers 1 to 2 hour. I listen to the Neil Rogers Fair and Balanced 1 to 2 hour.
Hi, this is Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger with another California report. This week, I want to talk to you about sex crimes. I may be governor, but I am a convicted sex offender. Earlier this week, I joined with sexual predators, teaching them how to victimize innocent Californians and the use of the Internet to lure children into sex crimes. I'm sponsoring this legislation to give Californians some of the worst criminals, and it will provide greater crimes. This legislation will expand and strengthen predators out there. I'm tipping the scale of justice in favor of the violators, not the victims, period. Thank you very much for listening.
New Orleans thought it had been spared the worst. And then 2 major levees broke, and slowly the city filled with water.
The city that sits below sea level is now under sea. Officials estimate that 80% of New Orleans is now underwater.
The governor has been asking for everybody to say a prayer. I think we could probably do that for our friends and loved ones out there.
Good morning, America. Said, don't you know me? I'm your native son. I'm the train that calls the city of New Orleans. I'll be gone 500 miles when the day is done.
Last night, we began this broadcast saying Katrina was bad, very bad. Last night, we didn't know the half of it. We are still learning just how bad.
What I saw today is equivalent to what I saw flying over the tsunami in Indonesia. There are places that are no longer there.
Nighttime on the city of New Orleans.
I mean, everything was just flooded. Everything, the whole city.
There, right there, are some people being evacuated.
We're hearing lots of stories of folks lending aid to one another.
Helicopters and rescue teams lifting people one by one, hundreds and hundreds in all from rooftops.
And we're hearing lots of stories like that of people assisting one another.
Just pray for them and for not just them, all the people down there.
You know, they're picking up the pieces.
Through the Mississippi darkness, rolling down to the sea. Good morning, America. How are you? Said, don't you know me? I'm your native son. I'm the train that calls the city of New Orleans. I'll be gone 500 miles when the day is done.
Tonight I ask for your prayers for all those who grieve.
Hurricane Katrina has brought out some of mankind's very best.
I ask the American people to join me in saying a prayer for the victims and their families. God bless.
Yeah, God bless my ass. Okay, I got one word for you, Bushmeister. As the Swedes say, kassahois. Anyway, getting back to this column here, The Worst President Ever by Ed Naha. Senator Susan Collins, a Maine Republican who heads the Senate Governmental Affairs Committee, and Senator Drew Lieberman of Connecticut, the panel's top Democrat, say they plan to begin an oversight investigation this week. We intend to demand answers as to how this immense failure occurred, but our immediate focus must and will be on what Congress can do to help rescue and emergency operations that are ongoing, the senator said in a joint statement. They were smoking one. It is also our responsibility to investigate the lack of preparedness and inadequate response to this terrible storm, they said, adding that it was increasingly clear that serious shortcomings in preparedness and response have hampered relief efforts at a critical time. No kidding. No Schmidt. Is that profound or what?
Deep.
By the time of their announcement, George was in the air waving bye-bye to the dead, the dying, and the displaced, and the city of New Orleans. So what can we say about this president, the golden boy? He's crippled the economy. He's decimated our education system. He's given billions to the rich in terms of tax cuts. He's given billions to Halliburton via no-bid contracts in both Iraq and Afghanistan, and now, of course, in the Gulf, our Gulf. He's eviscerated environmental laws. He's allowed the biggest terrorist attack on U.S. soil in history. He's launched an illegal, illogical invasion of a country that wasn't a threat to America, using bogus intelligence claims, costing the lives of tens of thousands of innocent people. He's received $1 billion boondoggle of a Star Wars missile defense system that doesn't work. He's racked up record deficits while preaching financial conservatism. He's created the biggest government bureaucracy in history. He's stifled dissent and free speech. He's isolated himself from real people as would a monarch. His minions have castrated FEMA, a once-effective agency, not only folding it into Homeland Security, but appointing leaders who have no experience in disaster relief, but were big Bush campaign contributors. And while he's ignored and denied the science that points to intense climate change because of global warming, we've been hit by record hurricane seasons. God doesn't even seem to like Bush's America anymore, so maybe God is one of us after all. I hope God gets into saving lives in New Orleans and the Gulf Coast pronto, because apparently the Bush administration can't. I think it was worth reading the whole thing.
Yeah, it was. I liked it.
Well, good. Because that's the reason I read these stories, is just to please you. And if you like them, then what's not to like? Well, there you go. Somebody's got to like them. I know, what's his name? Miguel. He sure, see, what's his name? He don't like him.
No.
He's too busy dodging, what's her name in the hallway?
What's her name?
Whatever happened to her? Now, see, one thing about QM, nobody ever gets canned, they just disappear. Or they get suspended and then they don't come back. What was her name? Doreen.
Oh, yeah.
How could I forget Doreen, the chubby
canned.
Queen? Huh?
She got canned.
Yeah, but did they announce it?
I don't know.
No, they never announce it. It's like a memo comes out about she's been suspended, and then they just don't come back again. You know, more like what I am saying.
No, there was a memo saying that she was poisoned, not allowed in the building. If you see her on the grounds, call the cops.
Really?
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Joyce, you not.
I thought that was about Fat Boy.
It didn't help.
If you see him near the candy closet, call the cops, call the candy cops, the sugar cops. 724 votes. We're not going to even make 800, you know. And that's because you haven't been pushing it, man. Because of the pathetic hurricane, it doesn't make any difference to me. I couldn't care less. Number of votes on a poll is a silly bunch of stuff, and we got all this crap going on, and the people ought to be mad as... You know, that poll that you took, and there was one choice on there, I've already Schmidt-canned it a long time ago, but about who cares?
Yeah.
And it had like 11 votes or something like that. Now, maybe they're just being smart, Alex, but I don't think so.
No, I put that on there knowing that there were people like
knowing that we got a bunch of idiots that no matter what's going on, they just don't give a crap. You know, that's the Florida effing way. Just indifferent to human suffering, just idiotic. It's just, George Bush's America. Because of the pathetic hurricane response, who most urgently needs to resign or be fired? George W. Bush, 216. He's leading. He's got almost 30% of the votes.
About 30, man.
724. We got a shot at 750. 730. All of the above. Now, pronto, subito, immediately, if not sooner, 210. The head of FEMA, downtown Mickey Brown, 158. An idiot. An imbecile. The head of Homeland Security, Michael Chertoff, 46, who evidently don't get near a TV set. Governor of Louisiana, that's Kathleen Blanco, 41. Mayor of New Orleans, Ray, I'm screaming and swearing, Nanegan, 34. Nobody. They all did fine. 17. Oh, yeah. Let's just play that the whole rest of the hour, okay? Let's just yuck it up a little bit, huh? They all did just fine. Everything's great. Wolf Blitzkrieg got 2 votes, and Lou Dobbs didn't get any. It's because I wasted my vote on Bush. I should have voted for Lou Dobbs. Not that I ever liked him, but up until now, he was just there. which ordinarily I watch the local news on CTV at 6 o'clock every day like clockwork. But once in a while I'll zip over there for a minute and see what kind of screaming about illegal aliens again, what kind of hysteria he's whipping up. He is a fascist, man. And then all this business about how could anybody bring race into this, you know? Who are you kidding, huh?
I could never stand him.
I think a bunch of Mexicans and really dark-skinned African Americans ought to take over wherever he's living, okay? Ought to move in right next door and take over his compound. Isn't that a good idea?
Sure. Compound W?
Yeah. Give him a compound fracture of his anus. Here's a fax from a Will who says, very chronic, a lot of chronic faxers out there. And that's because I'm not taking too many calls today, so they have to fax it in, right?
Right.
We had a couple of calls that were worthwhile, one or two. It says, hello, sirs. The Sox pitcher, Bill Lee, that's right. Thank you very much. Spaceman, remember Bill Lee?
No.
The Red Sox, Bill Lee, the Spaceman. Anyway, sometimes Josh makes even Miguel look like a PhD. Now, that's a little shot there, okay? It says, of the board ops, like Fredo, Carlos the Sleeper seemed pretty smart, at least computer savvy, but I guess he couldn't stay on his feet. No, he was usually going head over ass. Yeah, he had some personal problems, let's put it that way, okay? I don't want to get too deeply into it, but yeah, he had some issues. Oh, and then it's got a bunch of colorful pictures. I don't care about that. Get out of here, Will. He's usually pretty good. He's sending me stuff about pictures. That's your fault, Josh. You started that crap. Maybe I did it with Goose Gossage, I guess.
Sorry.
Cliff says, thanks for your truthful ranting. Well, you're welcome, Cliff. No extra charge, although I'm getting a sore throat. It's a good thing I don't work until Thursday. Hope I don't hit any big jackpots at Woodbine tomorrow. I won't be able to scream and shout. If only those poor people of New Orleans would have put down the water and food and taken tubes and attached them to their stomachs, the government would have swooped right in. Good point. It says Bush would have parachuted right in the middle, outfit and all. Yeah, but I think you got the wrong Bush. Our fat-ass governor, it's pretty close by. He'd have gone over there from Tallahassee over there. He could have zipped right on over by Chopper and gone there, and he could have personally attached everybody's personal tube. P.S. Those looters weren't all black. They were white people. They were just muddy. I see. Condoleezza is waiting for the drug test results before accepting applications. Bitch. He called her a bitch. How do you like that, Condoleezza? Nice going there, Cliff. When I think of her, I think...
You bitch, you slut, you whore.
Right, and that's the kindest thing I can say about her. Sitting there yucking it up Tuesday night at Monty Python and then shopping for shoes in New York while she's on vacation, while her people are drowning, you know? God, do I hate that bitch.
Those are
I got a story that you're going to like about Israeli soldiers killing innocent Palestinians.
How would I like that?
Because you like the truth about what's going on over there. You think I'm going to say because you're anti-Semitic?
That's what I thought.
From The Guardian, Israeli soldiers tell of indiscriminate killings by army in a culture of impunity. Whistleblowers' testimony shows desire for revenge on the Palestinians. I'm not going to read any more. It's long, but it's on our website for tomorrow. Because I don't want to get into all these long things. I want to take at least 200-300 calls before we get done here. Are we going to make 800 votes or what on a poll? Got 749. Hey, it's a challenge. It's something to do, you know. We could have made 1,500 if people really cared enough, but we got no more nude pictures on there. No mo. So we don't get the kind of spastic response we used to get. Oh, gee, take a look at that. You know, like that. You know. So who the hell cares about this crap that we're talking about? What is that stadium they're showing there?
With the spikes in certain problems that you're seeing, in addition to what you're concerned about. And you've talked about typhoid, cholera, asthma attacks, fever, rashes, even the concern
of
suicide.
That? Are you looking at CNN?
All of those issues are very real. After large-scale disaster.
What the hell was that stadium they were showing? Sure as hell wasn't the Superdome. It's in New Orleans because I don't know what it was. It was something. Well, there are going to be a lot of disease, a lot of E. coli, and a lot of dysentery, all of these things.
This and that.
But I think that the network should continue showing us those real close-ups of the water that they're pumping out of the city. All that brown water. Kind of makes you feel like you're back in Amsterdam again, some of us, you know?
Maybe it's hot cocoa.
When you look in the canals, that really, really dark brown water. What remember the song, Dirty Water by the Standells?
Yeah, want to hear it?
Let's play it. Let's play a little Dirty Water by now. It's in bad taste, man. God, you ever taste that stuff? 113 at 5. Can I do the spot, please? I feel like today there's just, I don't know, there's just something in the air. And don't play that. Here's your last chance to save thousands on a brand new Ford from Armstrong Ford of Homestead. They've always treated everybody like family. They want to extend an offer to you to join their family. Ford nationally now has extended their Ford Family Plan offer through September the 30th.
About 30, man.
And right now at Armstrong Ford of Homestead, you'll get the same great pricing that every Ford Motor Company employee and their families get. Not only do you get employee family pricing, but you also get Armstrong Ford's exclusive Tires and Batteries for Life program. And for a limited time with any new car purchase, you'll get a color TV for free. So what you be waiting for? Pick up the phone right now. Call 305-247-5112 and ask for David Rich. You won't get a better deal on a Ford anywhere. I'll bet your fat boy's life on it. No bait and switch, no phony deals. And this fantastic offer is only available at Armstrong Ford of Homestead, where they always treat you like family. Armstrong Ford, proud to be locally owned and operated. Vice President and General Manager David Rich says, bring your family to meet our family. Armstrong Ford of Homestead is at US 1 at Southwest 307th Street, just 20 easy minutes south of the 836. I guarantee you won't get a better deal on a Ford anyplace else in town. Check them on the web, armstrongcars.com. Give David a call at 305-247-5112 and ask him about the Ford Family Plan today. Drive a little bit extra, but save yourself thousands at Armstrong Ford of Homestead.
This is Neil Rogers. This is 560 QAM.
I do. Yeah, that wasn't in the epilogue.
The Mad Dog Jim Mandich Afternoons 47, Sports Radio 560 QAM.
Neil,
rock solid.
Welcome back once more to the Al Franken show, of course. Joining me in the studio today is a very, very special guest. The diabolical and infamous pill popper, Rush Limbaugh. Just for this occasion, we've had him bound and gagged. Which is much more effective, since this way I won't get any neocon cooties on my hand. Now, isn't that right, Rush? You like that, Mr. High Moral Grounder? This is for wife number 1. Wife number 2. Wife number... look, ladies and gentlemen, who's here. Dressed in pumps and rubbers.
I'm Catherine Lanford.
When we come back, I will magically, right before your eyes, pull a cigarette from behind my ear.
Rectum. It's 118. It'll be smoking, too. Let's see, we got the Momeister, the Moron, coming up at 2 o'clock. Mad Dog at 4. Marlins on deck at 6:30. Marlins at the Washington Nats at 7:05, followed by the Eddie K Show. Pretty exciting lineup. 774 vote on the poll. We're going to make 800. You know that?
800 what?
You know that?
I know it.
Where you at?
Right here.
Actor Brosnan says Bush has a lot to answer for. Even, what's his name? Even James Bond is not too happy with your president. Your president.
Sean Connery. Oh, wrong James Bond.
Pierce Brosnan was the only big star on hand as the Deauville Festival American Cinema got off to a quiet start in France over the weekend. He took advantage of the spotlight to blast Bush administration's handling of the carnage caused by Hurricane Katrina. This man called President Bush has a lot to answer for, the former James Bond actor told reporters Saturday. I don't know if this man is really taking care of America. This government has been shameful, he said. And Pierce Brosnan, you are...
Absolutely correct, sir.
He was in the Northern Coastal Resort promoting the black comedy The Matador, which opened the festival on Friday. The Matador.
Hey, look at that on CNN right now.
Oh, see, they listen to me. They're showing some real... Oh, no, look at that. Yeah, there's that dirty water. Yeah, it's a pretty ugly story, too, man. A little lumpy. Didn't I just talk about Jerry Lumpy before? That's the lumpiest water I've ever seen. Maniacs. Aerial view of the 17th Street Canal levee in New Orleans, and they're showing that big old... As they're draining all that water out there. When in doubt, pumping it out. And they're showing real close-up, as close as they can. You know, you people at the CNN Bureau, you may in Miami, I know you're listening to this show, and you all need to be on death row, whether or not you listen to the show, because you don't get diaries anyway, and even if you did, you lie about it and put down Rush.
For sure.
Just, you know, they put down Rush just for what's her name there, his wife, his Mrs. Darren Kagan. Seriously, that broad this morning, I always liked her until this morning, until she starts opening up. But just read the script, okay, honey? Carol Costello. Bubblehead. Oh, but we know President cares about these people. He cares about black people.
Why would you say that?
No question about it. Especially if they sell out. The only black people he cares about are people like Alan Keyes and Condoleezza and Roland Colin. People who, when in doubt, they sell out.
Don't forget Clarence.
Clarence Token Thomas. Not no poor black people. He don't give a flying crap about them. In fact, that's the irony of this whole thing is the reason that he got in both times, the only reason he got in, they were able to fix the elections, is because they were able to suppress the black vote in so many states.
Mm-hmm.
That's the irony. That's called adding salt to your womb is what it's called. Just unbelievable. Uh-oh. City officials confirmed that E. coli... That's really quite a bulletin, isn't it? E. coli was found in the floodwaters. I'm thinking that maybe don't drink it. It's a good idea. Yeah. Don't be getting a snoutful of that. Well, I mean, it's just so stupid that they put that... City officials confirm E. got a bulletin, Idiots. You morons in the media there, man. You're just crazy people. That's all. You're a bunch of grave robbers. I hope you can't sleep all night long. Alone or with somebody. I just hope you can't sleep. I hope you're tossing and turning and just have a guilty conscience and you're working up into a sweat from guilt over sucking up to a bunch of fascists while your country has been taken over, while the elections are being stolen in broad daylight. And the Democrats, of course, don't even waste your time talking about that. When that woman called before and told me that our knight in shining armor, Barack Obama, was hanging around with Oprah. Oh. I'm still gagging on it. Can you believe that?
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah. They're going around glad-handing, and then she must be the one that sent Dr. Phil off there to the Astrodome. Because Ast is his middle name.
Return to ultra catastrophe.
Yeah, there he is. He's got Hermann Goering Rumsfeld on one side, and Cheney just made a cameo appearance. Look at that.
To find out what went right and what went wrong.
Yeah, what went right, what went wrong, and then we'll tell all those dead people. Oh, they can't hear me? Yeah, let's tell them. Anyway, from a distance of 70 meters and through the sight of his machine gun, Asaf could tell that the Palestinian man was aged between 20 and 30.
About 30, man.
Unarmed and trying to get away from an Israeli tank. But the details didn't matter much because Asaf's orders were to fire at anything that moved at it. Asaf, a soldier in the Israeli army, pressed the trigger, firing scores of bullets as the body fell to the ground. He ran and I started shooting for a few seconds. He fell. I was a machine. I fire, I leave, and that's that. We never spoke about it afterward. It was the summer of 2002, and Asaf and his armored unit had been ordered to enter the Gaza town of Deir al-Balah following the firing of mortars into nearby Jewish settlements. His orders were, he told The Guardian, every person you see on the street, kill him, and we would just do it. Well, isn't that what God said in the Old Testament about your enemies?
That's right. Kill them all. Don't
kill
miss
every
any
one of them.
babies.
Don't miss a single one, okay? It wasn't the first time that Asaf had killed an innocent person in Gaza while following orders, but after his discharge, he began to think about things he did. Oh, he had a discharge? Maybe that was God punishing him with that VD.
Was it oily?
It was an oily bird discharge. The reason why I'm telling you this is that I want the Army to think about what they're asking us to do, shooting unarmed people. I don't think it's legal, he said. Oh, what a rocket scientist. Asaf is not alone. In recent months, dozens of soldiers, including the son of an Israeli general, all recently discharged, have come forward to share their stories of how they were ordered in briefings to shoot, to kill unarmed people without fear of reprimand. The soldiers were brought into contact with The Guardian and with the assistance of Breaking the Silence, a pressure group of former soldiers who want the Israeli public to confront the reality of Army activities. The group insisted on anonymity of its witnesses to protect the soldiers from persecution, prosecution, because they basically want to stay alive. Isn't that what it is? Yeah. The rest of the story will be on our website, I guess, tomorrow? One of these days?
Yeah, late tonight.
Late tonight?
I got the internet, I told you.
Well, that's right. You're doing it at home now in your stories, too. How do you like that, folks? That is outstanding. No, considering everything, all the obstacles we've had, it's been just fine.
Yeah, it has.
That's fine.
And I don't know if you ever checked those stats on there, but amazingly enough, even over the holiday weekend, there are a lot of people reading some of them stories.
That's right.
Oh, that's right. I forget. I don't have to sell you on the stories. I forgot about that.
That's why they go to the site, those stories.
Anna Menendez, let me tip my cap to somebody at the Herald. I know this comes as a great shock to just about everybody in the universe. Let me tip my cap to Anna, even though the rest of you are going to say, oh, you party pooper, you idiot. Poop on you, man. You know what it's about? I mean, the story was on Saturday. But, of course, since I'm not on, starting next week, by the way, I'll be on every day, Monday through Friday. That's bad news for me.
What about Saturday?
No. She says, this is no time to displace the displaced. Cancel the stupid game. Let the Hurricanes, the Seminoles, and their hollow mascots play another day. And I bet you the Cane fans right now are saying, oh, that would have been a great idea. After their dismal performance in their loss last night, 10-7, another girls' team game. Pathetic. Oh, and speaking of bad teams, that Ron Zook, man, he almost lost to a girls' team. Did you see that on Saturday, Josh?
Yeah, didn't he win in overtime?
Yeah, Rutgers was kicking Illinois' ass and they had to come from behind. Ron Zook, don't give him a look. He is pathetic. He got run out of Florida on a rail. Anyway, Anna says, I don't care how long the fans have been waiting for the FSU Miami Showdown in Tallahassee Monday night. I don't care about Devin Hester's kick return. What kind of a country amuses itself with choreographed violence while the world burns? How low have we sunk on the moral scale when hotels in Tallahassee are kicking out victims from the real hurricane to make way for a bunch of stupid football fans? I put the word stupid in there, Anna. She didn't have to. New Orleans is burning. Its people are waiting in lines that stretch for half a mile. Tens of thousands have lost not just their homes, but an entire way of life. A city is gone. We're facing one of the biggest displacements in the country's history, and the few evacuees who have managed to find shelter in hotels around Tallahassee have to pick up and go because of football. We have to let them know what's going on in town, and they're going to have to leave, a hotel manager told the Herald's Mary Ellen Class. The manager added, many of them are trying to get closer to home anyway. I guess that would be those who still have a home. Don't talk to me about the need for escapist entertainment during a tragedy. Football is fun to watch, so are movies. It's also fun to go out to dinner, buy cool clothes, and catch up on Paris Hilton's whereabouts. But fun is no substitute for moral clarity. When exactly did our sense of entitlement or relentless pursuit of personal amusement trump our basic sense of human decency? Asks Anna. We become a country neck-deep, is that redneck deep in entertainment and shallow in ourselves, a bully nation that can't take care of its own people. This week, the Census Bureau announced that 800,000 more workers are without health insurance, and an additional 1.1 million Americans have fallen below the poverty line. Where is the outrage? How much can the rest of the world expect from a country that is full of plans for everybody else's betterment, but can't take care of its own? Don't bother looking for solace from our leadership. Now when the president, who's now touring the devastated coast almost a week later, gave a post-hurricane speech that had all the profundity of a halftime show. If America is becoming more and more like football, then football should take the first steps to save itself. Of course, no one is going to cancel the game, and of course they did not. All that advertisement is at stake. All that ad money. So football should do the next best thing and take a principled stand. Ensure that no evacuees were kicked out of hotels, period, and donate all the proceeds, everything, ticket sales, ads, salaries, to relief efforts. Well, the governor gave $20. I didn't expect introspection when I floated the idea to UM's athletics spokesman, Mark Prey, and I didn't get it. Are you going to give up your own salary? He shot back angrily. You know Mark Prey?
No. Should I?
No. Facing an onslaught of bad publicity, Prey said Friday that both teams are encouraging fans to give up their rooms and stay with friends. Then he suggested the idea of a hotel room shortage in Tallahassee was overblown. Go to ctallahassee.com. He said plenty of rooms available. True, on the website, but when I called Friday afternoon, both the Hampton Inn and Suites Tallahassee that said 50 rooms available and Tallahassee Capitol Courtyard that said 20 rooms were sold out for the game day. Ross Wagers, general manager of the Hampton Inn Suite, said they might not be completely sold out game night, promised that either way, no evacuees would be kicked out to make room for fans. Thank the Lord. At least FSU coach Bobby Bowden, who lost family during a hurricane, grasps the magnitude of the suffering playing out in Tallahassee's backyard. It makes the game seem mighty insignificant when you start thinking about what's going on down there, he said earlier this week. Anna says, sure as hell does, brother. Sure as hell does. Let's play some football, baby. Play some football. We got the Patriots game Thursday night. That's the important stuff. When the Patriots play. When anybody else plays, it's kind of like, you know. And, of course, we got hockey coming up, man. Now that the Hurricanes have already lost one game, which means everybody's off their bandwagon. They lose one game, that's it. And we know that the Dolphins are going to be like maybe 1-15.
Bring it back into Nesterenko. Talbot takes it.
See, there you go. Let's get hockey intensive because the Panthers look like they're going to make the playoffs this year. They might actually be pretty good, you know? So let's everybody, all the phonies, just like we had that one year, jump on the Panther bandwagon. We love the Panther. Let's cue that up. You got it? No.
Somewhere.
Jolynn. She's still in Nashville?
All right.
Well, one good thing, at least they didn't say, I hope they didn't send any of those people to Tennessee. They probably did. Haven't they suffered enough? 1:30 already at QAM when disaster strikes. In this event, we're talking, of course, about Hurricane Katrina, and your home or business has suffered water damage. There's only one place to call, and we're talking about Dry Concepts. Dry Concepts can remove excess water and dry your home or business quickly using the latest innovations in drying technology. Dry Concepts drying system can eliminate the need for costly reconstruction and replacement of treasured belongings, too. Unhealthy mold and mildew conditions are eliminated by the proper use of specializing drying, whatever. If the damage is more extensive, Dry Concepts licensed contractors can provide needed estimates and professional services too. So if water damage hits you hard, don't panic. Do the same thing I've been doing for over 20 years in my homes. Call the professionals, the best in the universe at Dry Concepts. Call them toll-free, 1-800-248-5071. That's 1-800-248-5071, or on the wicked web, it's dryconcepts.com.
This is Neil Rogers. This is 560 QAM. The Florida Marlins, the Washington Nationals. Vista Health Plans, Marlins on Deck starts our coverage tonight at 6:30. Presented by Bell South. There's only one place to get hooked on Florida Marlins baseball. Sports Radio 560. QAM.
George Bush doesn't care about black people.
Coming up tonight on Inside the Behind the True Hollywood Celebrity Music Biography Profile Story. It's time to play 6 Degrees of Scientology. And we start it all off with Boingo Boingo.
Oingo Boingo was co-founded by Danny Elfman.
John Locke's initiative is a reporter for the magazine Entertainment Minutely.
Danny Elfman went on to a big career writing soundtracks like Batman and Dolores Claiborne. Dolores Claiborne starred Jennifer Jason Leigh, who co-starred with Bridget Fonda in Single White Female. Bridget Fonda is now married to Danny Elfman, who is related by marriage to Jenna Elfman, star of the sucky TV show Dharma and Greg. Jenna married Danny Elfman's nephew, Bodie Elfman, and converted to Scientology for him. Voila! The really amazing thing is that even Scientology couldn't stop Dharma and Greg from sucking.
That's true. But who the hell is Bodie Elfman?
Good question. He's had a lot of bit parts in movies, but so far, Scientology really hasn't done crap for his career. In fact, I'll bet a lot of people think that if they become a Scientologist, they'll become as famous as John Travolta, as fat as Kirstie Alley, or as closeted as Tom Cruise. The reality is, most Scientologists are anonymous losers, just like the rest of us.
Boingo Boingo. They were not Scientologists, yet they were famous. Go figure. It's a big, juicy, sopping wet look at show business. Tonight on Inside the Behind.
Do they say as closeted as Tom Cruise? Hey, Tommy.
You fairy.
136, 24-2 at QAM. A visibly angry Mayor Richard Daley of Chicago said the city had offered emergency medical and technical help to the federal government as early as last Sunday. Not this past Sunday, but a week ago Sunday. You following?
I'm following.
To assist people in the area stricken by Hurricane Katrina, but as of Friday, meaning this past Friday, the only things the Fed said they wanted was a single tank truck. The truck which FEMA requested to support an Illinois-based medical team was en route on Friday. We're ready to provide more help than they have requested. We're just waiting for their call, said Daley, adding that he was shocked that nobody seemed to want the help. Just like the help from those 60 countries or whatever it is now. Well, we're thinking about it. Let's do a study.
We got our pride.
Right. Meanwhile, and I knew we'd hear from him sooner or later. I knew besides just hanging it out with Oprah, U.S. Senator Barack Obama said he would call for congressional hearings into the federal government's preparations and response. The response was achingly slow, and that, I think, is a view shared by Democrats, Republicans, wealthy and poor, black and white, the freshman senator said. I haven't met anybody who's watched this crisis evolve over the last several days who isn't just furious at how poorly prepared we appeared to be. The Southside Democrat called FEMA's slow response baffling. I don't understand how you could have a situation where you've got several days' notice of an enormous hurricane building in the Gulf Coast. You know that New Orleans is 6 feet below sea level. The notion that you don't have good plans in place just doesn't make sense, Obama said. Obama says he expects his counterparts in Louisiana, Mississippi, or Alabama will call for congressional hearings, but he's ready if they don't. It's heartbreaking and infuriating, and I think is embarrassing to the American people, and Barack happens to be.
Absolutely correct, sir.
Daley said the city offered 36 members of the firefighters' technical rescue teams, 8 emergency medical technicians, search and rescue equipment, more than 100 police officers as well as police vehicles, and 2 boats, 29 clinical and 117 non-clinical health workers, a mobile clinic, 8 trained personnel, 140 street and sanitation workers, and 29 trucks, plus other supplies, and a partridge in a pear tree. City personnel also were willing to operate self-sufficiently and wouldn't depend on local authorities for food, water, shelter, and other supplies, he said. And they said, just 1 truck will do, thank you. Well, see, they don't want to make him look good because he's a Democrat. You know, that's Chicago.
Same thing for all these
blue
other
country,
people.
Man. That's blue country. They don't want to do anything to make him look good, like he's a decent guy. Really pathetic. And you know what this is? This is like the Iraq attack all over again. I mean, it's just people dying, innocent people dying, total incompetence, lies through their teeth. I mean, that Michael Chertoff, for him to go on there on Thursday and give a song and a dance about he didn't know those people were at the convention center. I got news for you, man. You're going to rot in hell for a long time, Mr. Chertoff. You sellout.
Boy!
God. You see, one thing you'll find out about any of the blacks or Jews who are involved in this Bush administration, they're all sellouts. They're all self-hating. And he's one of them. Chertoff my ass. 820 votes, by the way, made your 800. Isn't that what you were calling for?
Yep, all day long.
Those who deal with disaster on a local level warned Congress and the Bush administration earlier this year that training and equipment for first responders were tilted too much, that's their mistake, tilted too much toward combating terrorism and away from dealing with natural disasters like hurricanes. And, of course, people are thinking, well, we saw some of that game last night, and hurricane disaster would be the right word, wouldn't it? Because they're obsessed with football, you know. Give me the ball. Congressional investigators urged the administration to correct the tilt, but no changes were made. Emergency personnel began raising flags when FEMA lost its independence and joined the 22-agency Homeland Security Department March 2003. That's one of the main reasons that this disaster went down as it did. The Mammoth Department was created in 2002 as a response to the lack of coordination prior to 9/11 terrorist attacks, and its emphasis clearly is terrorism. Officials developed an all-hazards policy that used the same training exercises and equipment to prepare for two distinct types of disasters, a terrorist attack and an event of nature. Congress's GAO reported in July that of 39 first responder departments surveyed, 31 disagreed that the training and grant funds worked for all types of hazards. In addition, officials from 4 first responder departments went on to say that DHS required too much emphasis on terrorism-related activities and requests for equipment and training. In other words, basically, they don't care anymore about natural disasters.
Well, there aren't any.
And I'm going to tell you one thing, even though we don't have no levees, we got a few levees. But if we should ever get hit again by a Cat 5 in Florida, and one that doesn't happen to go way, way down south where most of the population is not, you can't even begin to imagine what the hell it would be. Can you begin?
No, I don't want to begin.
Don't even think about it. And I think the eye probably would be right over your house again.
This is Neil Rogers. This is 560 QAM.
Do it again.
Yeah.
Hit it.
Bang it.
Hi, sweetheart. How are you?
Hi, it's the Mike's Hard Lemon.
Hank Goldberg. Weekday morning, 7 to 10.
Finns had to make some cuts yesterday. Among them, Brock Berlin gone, Ed Perry gone. Yeah.
Excuse me. I know he went to the U.
He did.
Is that a big shock? Is that what we should name him first? Ed Perry was a more significant cut than Brock.
Look, I think the fans down here are more concerned with Brock Berlin.
Oh, yeah. They were sitting up nights praying for Brock Berlin.
They were, man. They wanted him to be the third stringer, the practice squad guy, go to NFL Europe.
Shut the damn mouth. They wanted him to replace Sage.
You're right.
You're wrong. Goodbye.
No,
your update's over.
The Hammer, Hank Goldberg, 7 to 10. Sports Radio 560.
Hey, stop it.
Hurricane f***ing blow.
Absolutely.
There's a soldier, he's an Israeli. He's got something and it's pointed at me. It's an Uzi, it's an Uzi, it's an Uzi. Oh no, it's an Uzi. Oh no, it's an Uzi, it's an Uzi, it's an Uzi. Oh no, if he shoots that gun, my life is done. Oh, it's an Uzi that soldier's got. It's an Uzi and I might get shot. The Gaza Strip is like a war zone. All we've got is some sticks and some stones. He's got an Uzi, it's an Uzi, it's an Uzi. Oh no, it's an Uzi, it's an Uzi, it's an Uzi. Oh no, it's an Uzi, it's an Uzi, it's an Uzi. Oh no, we better run before he shoots that gun. Oh, it's an Uzi that soldier's got. It's an Uzi and I might get shot. All right. It's an Uzi that soldier's got. Oh no. It's an doozy and I might get shot. I'm dying over here.
146, 14 till 2. The Momeister will be on at 2 o'clock with some more misinformation. And then we got the Mad Dog at 4:30. Marlins baseball tonight. You know, they lately seem to be losing on the wrong days, you know. I mean, with so few games left, it's not any day a good day to lose, but
Very
you know
true.
what I'm saying?
Well, but they're still only one game back, so, you know.
Like 2 days ago, I mean, like all the other wild card teams lost, and the Braves even lost. Everybody around contending, etc., lost, and they lost too.
That's right.
Which was not good.
That's how it's been working.
And then yesterday, some people won and they lost, which is really bad. At any rate, let's get sports intensive for just one moment. Here's the important stuff, okay? Are you aware of this name change of the arena, the Mac Arena?
No.
You, Josh?
I'm not.
For the second time, the Panthers are changing the name of their Sunrise Arena. A Broward official confirmed on Friday. See, you're missing the important stuff. You're concentrating too much on stuff like dead people and hurricanes. The name of the arena is expected to change from Office Depot Center to a name featuring Bank Atlantic, probably Bank Atlantic Center. According to two officials who were briefed on the agreement but requested anonymity because they don't want to get shot. Roger Desjardins, the Broward County administrator, said he learned Friday that Office Depot's name is being replaced on the building, but wasn't told of the new name. But two sources said the Panthers have been working to finalize a deal with Fort Lauderdale-based Bank Atlantic. One source said the deal with Bank Atlantic likely would be more lucrative than Office Depot's, which paid about $1 million a year. Office Depot replaced National Car Rental as the Inta Center, titled September 2002. National Car Rental had paid about $2.2 million a year. The naming rights money goes toward a general revenue pot. In other words, pot for all the players, of which the Panthers keep the first $14 million annually. Above that figure, 20% of the profits go to the county. Anybody hear any more about the slots?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. Maybe they can take all those ones from Biloxi.
There you go. They're just floating around.
They're a little wet, and of course maybe that's good for the gamblers out there because maybe being waterlogged, it might defeat the computer. See what I'm saying? Yeah, so maybe we might have a shot because otherwise you got no shot. So they're renaming it. Of course, if they name it, see that center thing, like the Rogers Center, everybody that comes here to Toronto. I mean, what was wrong with the Sky Dome? That's a good name, right?
Yeah.
Sky Dome is a great name, but then Rogers Cable, which is, by the way, great. But nevertheless, they bought it out. They changed the name of the stadium to the Rogers Center, which, you know, I appreciate that. I take it as a personal compliment, but everybody makes fun of that name, and rightfully so, because the name sucks. Rogers Center, my ass. Speaking of ass, here's somebody with a big one. Dana Stevens writes, what is this in? Slate.com. One of the most puzzling recent hires in cable news has been MSNBC's poaching of the anchor Rita Cosby from Fox News. This month, Cosby began hosting a nightly news show, which airs at 9 p.m. weeknights. Its premiere August 8th bumped Situation with Tucker Carlson into the 11 p.m. slot, formerly occupied by a hardball rerun. Basically, what that means is MSNBC should just shut down. MSNBC's anchor napping of Cosby from Fox represents the third-place cable news network's attempt at landing what Variety recently called the news ratings grabber, the crusading blonde on the crime and justice beat. Back in 2001, CNN stole Paula Zahn from Fox, resulting in a breach of employment contract suit that was later dismissed, and years-long vendetta between Zahn and Fox chief Roger Ailes, who told the New York Times he could have put a dead raccoon in Zahn's time slot and got equally good ratings. In 2002, although we might not like seeing a dead raccoon on there. Oh, and this general, by the way, this General Honore, oh boy, what a shill he is, huh?
Wow, what do you expect?
Shill. In 2002, Greta Van Susteren defected in reverse direction from CNN to Fox. Van Susteren's ratings have soared during her 3-year tenure at Fox, especially this summer with her obsessive fixation on the search for Natalie Holloway, the missing teenager in Aruba, has made her one of the highest-rated and most ridiculed personalities on cable news. Another much-hyped instance of internetwork blonde poaching occurred this spring when CNN Headline News landed Court TV's wild-eyed Cassandra of the justice system, Nancy Grace, for its primetime 8 p.m. slot. Thank you, Fran. Thank you, Fran. Oh, God, what I would like to... I'd like to take her and Lou Dobbs and put them in a space capsule. And just... But the traffic in blonde seems to be exceeding an almost abstract plane with the acquisition of Rita Cosby by MSNBC. It's as if the new rules of the cable network publicity machine demand that flaxen-haired anchorwomen must be routinely seduced away from their networks and the resulting deflections hyped in the press. Defections, regardless of their virtual indistinguishability from one another or their highly dubious contribution to the field of journalism at large. How many people actually watch Rita Cosby in her weekend ghetto on Fox?
About 30, man.
And if she does have a following, as the existence of a Rita Cosby fan club would seem to indicate, can those viewers be depended on to migrate to a primetime nightly show on the least watched cable news network?
No.
This question brings up a corollary that's too sad to ponder for very long. What kind of person voluntarily spends their precious weeknight hours watching cable news chat shows?
Well, the people that can't get on chat rooms, I guess.
I guess. Watching Live and Direct this week, it's been hard to get a sense of what Rita was hired to bring to MSNBC. The aftermath of a devastating hurricane isn't really a Rita Cosby kind of story. For one thing, there's nobody to blame for it. Cosby seems much more at home with stories like the disappearance of Olivia Newton-John's boyfriend, Patrick McDermott. I loved her attempt last week to pump some juice about this case out of a visibly nonchalant private investigator who suggested I would say 2 words, Las Vegas? Okay. Look in Vegas. He's probably hanging out there. And, of course, the Natalie Holloway story. This week, Cosby was supposed to be reporting live from Aruba, and she actually did broadcast the show from there, but God had thrown a wrench into MSNBC's plans to steal away some of Natalie Holloway's fire from Fox, Hurricane Katrina. There was something bitterly amusing in watching Cosby try to justify her presence in Aruba. As you know, I just arrived here in Aruba, which was not hit by the storm, but is dealing with the fury of the Natalie Holloway investigation before devoting the rest of the hour to long-distance coverage of the mega disaster happening. To make a long story short, she blows, man. The hurricane blew pretty hard, but Rita Cosby blows.
This is Neil Rogers. This is 560 QAM.
Time for this year's fantasy draft. Dial her up. We don't have to dial up.
Thing anybody said since I've been doing this show in 4 years.
Our game at afternoons to the 4. Sports Radio 560 QAM.
Jason, you're on QAM.
We don't have any National Guardsmen because they're all fighting a war in Iraq right now.
Not the National Guard.
Pardon?
Not the National Guard.
No National Guard in Iraq?
There's no National Guard. No.
New Orleans thought it had been spared the worst. And then 2 major levees broke, and slowly the city filled with water.
The city that sits below sea level is now under sea. Officials estimate that 80% of New Orleans is now underwater.
The governor has been asking for everybody to say a prayer. I think we could probably do that for our friends and loved ones out there.
Good morning, America. Say, don't you know me? I'm your native son. I'm the train they call the city of New Orleans. I'll be gone 500 miles when the day is done.
Last night, we began this broadcast saying Katrina was bad, very bad. Last night, we didn't know the half of it. We are still learning just how bad.
What I saw today is equivalent to what I saw flying over the tsunami in Indonesia. There are places that are no longer there.
Nighttime on the city of New Orleans.
I mean, everything is just flooded. Everything, the whole city.
There, right there, are some people being evacuated.
We're hearing lots of stories of folks lending aid to one another.
Helicopters and rescue teams lifting people one by one, hundreds and hundreds in all from rooftops.
So we're hearing lots of stories like that of people assisting one another.
Just pray for them and for not just them, all the people down there.
You know, they're picking up the pieces.
Through the Mississippi darkness, rolling down to the sea. Good morning, America. How are you? Say, don't you know me? I'm your native son. I'm the train they call the city of New Orleans. I'll be gone 500 miles when the day is done.
Tonight I ask for your prayers for all those who grieve.
Hurricane Katrina has brought out some of mankind's very best.
I ask the American people to join me in saying a prayer for the victims and their families. God bless.
Oh, yeah, as they say in Helsinki, ask me our president. 840 some votes, 851. You see, we could have made that 900. We could have made 855 if you'd leaned right on and pushed it. You just weren't pushing it hard enough, but I'm sure you've heard that before. Because of the pathetic hurricane response, who needs most urgently to resign or to be fired at it is our poll question today. George W. Bush, 258. Are you surprised? Of course not.
No.
Impeach, baby. In fact, he's got over 30.
About 30, man.
All of the above. Now, pronto, subito. Get rid of him now, 240. When in doubt, toss him out. The head of FEMA, downtown Mickey Brown, 183. Mickey Brown Head of Homeland Security, Michael Chertoff, who don't have no TV set, 57. Governor of Louisiana, 47. Mayor of New Orleans, 36. Nobody. They all did fine, 21. Yeah. Wolf Blitzkrieg, 3. And Lou Dobbs, solamente uno.
Bye. When it comes to entertainment, it's Neil Rogers Midday. Sports Radio 560, WQAM, Miami, Fort Lauderdale.
What kind of sick, twisted game are you playing at? Go back to the squad and resume your hacky sack.
Never